everybody? Jigs and Bigs. You got Bobby Roast Beef here. It's another beautiful week, another beautiful episode. We got Who the Fuck is Joe Brown in the house. We got some stuff to talk about. While neither of us have been on the water this week, some stuff has kind of gone on that we can go over and review. We have a Just the Tip this week that I think you're really going to enjoy. It actually comes from a phone call from a listener in New Jersey asking us a couple of questions to clarify a few things. We're going to dive into it in Just the Tip. We also have a great segment. We've got the one and only Dustoff Fishing, Brandon Heimericks. He is joining us in the beef seat. We're going to have a great conversation about social media, and both he and myself have noticed something that is kind of troubling, and we're going to talk about it in that third segment. Guys, don't go too far. We got much more great stuff going on. And is Bobby Roast Beef going to be advertising for Lund? We'll find out. You guys don't go too far. We got much more great stuff happening. Jigs and Bigs coming up. Grab yourself something to enjoy. We'll see you guys after this. Saturday morning as I raise my giant Stanley Stein full of coffee and say welcome everybody. It is a rainy Saturday morning here in New England. Both myself and Joe a little groggy this morning, but we're making things happen. I feel like I'm a little bit groggier than you, Joe, this morning.
I'm pretty good this morning, man. Like I've been up for a minute and doing shit around the house and just kind of.
When I got that text from you this morning about, because
were you sleeping,
dude? I just woke up. Like I woke, I had gotten up. It must have been just before first light. I had gotten up to take a leak, and then I go back to bed. I'm like, it's still so late. I'm gonna go back to bed. So I laid out. The dog's passed out. Holly's passed out. I'm like, all right, great. I wake up and I was like, I was like, well, we better get the show on the road. And I was like, it was 8:15 already. I was like, holy fuck. And I'm like, yeah, we'll go ahead. So my response, this is perfect. Last week we got a 10 o'clock start to compensate, but for good reasons. I just have no self-control when it comes to sleeping, and I'm a moron. But here we are, caffeinated and ready to rock.
I'm rocking through the coffee in the mason jar today.
Yeah,
like
classic, dude.
Oh, I can't do hot coffee. I don't know if I ever told you that.
Really? I
can't do it.
My kids are both like that. And more so my oldest.
Yeah.
Chloe is like an iced coffee. And actually, if she shows up to like an event without an iced coffee in her hand, I'm
Something's
like,
wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, are you okay? What's the matter? And it's a thing.
Yeah. I only do one a day, but it's gotta be be iced coffee. Yeah. I drank an energy drink the other day, half of one.
Yeah.
For the first time in probably 15 years. And I was just like, dude, it gave me such the jitters. I was like, well, I'm not doing that again.
Dude, so what's funny is I am a hot or cold coffee drinker. I can go either way.
Yeah.
Zach says, morning, boys. He likes my choice of headwear today.
Oh, there he is. There's Zach.
I love it.
I still owe Zach a phone call. I'm sorry, dude. It's been a wild week.
It's
been a wild week.
Zach comes into my week of fishy shit this week because I discovered something that's pretty interesting. But
okay,
as far as coffee goes, I'll put a pot on and I will drink it all day until it's just gone.
Yeah,
and I don't get the jitters. I don't get anything. Like if I'm getting the jitters from coffee, I have had way too many like high test espresso drinks or something like that.
Sure.
Or you know what? I only realized this recently. You know, a lot of those like canned coffee drinks that you find in like convenience store. Black Rifle Coffee has some that I really like.
Yeah.
They're solid. Those have like additional caffeine added. They're like 300 milligrams a pop. So I'm like, yeah, I'll have a couple of these. And then I'm like, what the fuck? It's terrible. It's terrible, man.
Oh yeah, dude. It's I can't handle it. Dude, at this point I don't even think it doesn't wake me up or anything. I think at this point I just like the taste of coffee, and I feel like if I don't drink it, I'll get a massive headache. That like caffeine withdrawal.
That's the straight up addiction right there.
Yep.
I almost like I will go, plenty of mornings without drinking coffee and I don't ever notice the headache, but maybe it's the cannabis that kind of dulls that a little bit. I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Speaking of cannabis, I had mentioned a lot that I've been trying to find different sponsors for for to sponsor Something Fishy Trivia, so that for a laundry list of reasons. But I had reached out to a bunch of companies, and I'm not just fishing companies, because I'm like, if this were to end up going into like more of like the general knowledge world, like if the demand was high enough where I'm like, I can't write that much fishy shit, just the amount of research that goes into it.
Right.
If it kind of grows and we incorporate more general knowledge stuff, it's quite possible we might end up having contestants on that have never held a fishing rod ever, and that might be hilarious. You know what I mean? I reached out to this company called Everyday Canna, and they have a great everyday cannabis company, and they have a great logo that it says EDC. So immediately I'm drawn to this, and they make accessories that kind of fit that niche of like that everyday carry. So like discreet like vape batteries that look like pens and things like that.
Yeah,
like a Swiss Army knife that's like a multi-tool for dabs. I'm like, this is amazing. I think this is so cool. So I reach out to them about doing a sponsorship, and they're just like, well, to get started, let's how about we send you some products and you can talk about them on the show. We'd love to start there. And I was like, oh, I'd love it if you started there too. So there is a package that they already shipped, and I'm like, holy shit. So maybe we'll have to bring Sean back for a little bit of testing for this stuff, because I know Joe.
I'll have to take that one off.
We got a little while, but it's going to happen, Joe.
I know.
You and I are going to have some camping trips where we're just going to be like, like macro dosing some tincture first thing in the morning out in the woods, and then hitting the water and catching absolute dragons.
Perfect.
That is not
about to be 17-year-old again. Finally.
Oddly enough, at the same time, 17 and like 60. Like, those two things exactly at the right kind of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. So, two things. Zach chimes in. He goes, I'm pouring underspins for a Christmas box in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Is he with Josh?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, Ohio is a magical place that we're going to be returning to in just a couple of months, really.
I cannot wait. What a great show that is.
Dude, the show is fantastic. This year's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be doing a party, although I'm going to try to convince everybody that we should just have a party at the Airbnb. You know what I mean? Maybe
we got to at least make a stop into Oldfields.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a great, and it's walking distance.
That might be the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That might actually be the way to do it. Oh, nope. I'm at Jig Masters. I am a slut for Jig Masters gear. I am an absolute slut for Jig Masters. And so these underspins are clearly going to be one of my favorites. Yeah. And remember, Zach, go ahead and confirm for me. You are pouring lead over there, right? Underspins in Massachusetts, you can use lead. There is a blade. There is a blade. So that is good stuff. Why don't we dive into our weeks? I did.
You can also use lead in Massachusetts if you're not a pussy.
Oh. You heard that, environmental police. You know exactly what's going on. Oh, something tells me that if you ever had a run-in with an EPO, Joe, it'd probably be somebody you know. You know what I mean?
From the shop, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Something like that. And they'd be like, hey, what are you doing with that? Like, no, I brought them here to give to you. Here you go.
Dude, the amount of times I have been like I've had interactions with EPOs while on the water. Not once were they like, hey, you using lead?
Yeah.
Not once ever.
It's crazy. It's nuts, because there is this, I've Ashley Reservoir, which is right near me. It's very strict about no fishing, and it's not usually once or twice a year. I'll be going along 202, going right past there, and there will be a car with all their gear lined up against the guardrail, all the boxes open, everything else, because they got busted in there fishing, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take you down for everything we got, which, you know what? I mean, if you're trespassing like that and they got you on that, what do you expect?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's
like
rough.
the photo of the dude on Wachusett this year in the kayak.
Oh my God. I feel better about that. When I read that article, I was like, I feel better that I didn't realize that there was a season for Wachusett. And I was completely, because I'm fishing and like EPO comes up and he's like, how we doing, boys? And we're like, I wish they were biting. Actually, what's funny is that I did hook and release a Laker right before. So I'm like, okay, I wish they were biting. He's like, He's like, do you notice that there's nobody else out here? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's a Tuesday and it's like 45 degrees. And he's like, that's pretty rough. He's like, did you know that there's a season? I'm like, totally unaware. He's like, why don't you move on? And then, like an absolute boss, I asked him to suggest other spots. Like an absolute fucking gangster.
Perfect. I bet you that dude on the kayak fucking smashed him while he was out there, because no one's ever done it before.
Like, how many people have ever casted a line in that one area? None. Fucking few.
None.
Very few. Wachusett is one of these places where this is the time of year I like to go. I wish I could actually make that happen tomorrow, but I've got the two trivia nights back to back. So I am going to do a bank send tomorrow in between, and I'm going to see if I can come up with some content. I don't know what other spots I can hit. I got to do a little bit of recon and figure that out.
What area are you going to be in?
So I'm going to, my first trivia is in Northampton. My second one is in Northern Holyoke. So right up in that way.
Northern Holyoke. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, dude, walk the Swift for a few.
Oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I could do that. That's not that long of a ride out there. I can get there within a half hour. That wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a good idea. I have never attacked it going from the boat launch south. I've usually always gone from the bridge in Bondsville and gone up north.
Right.
Although there is that, I would call it like a launch that's after the dam in between the boat launch and the dam that's in Bondsville.
Yeah.
There's a spot there that I really like that I've never caught fish at, but that's mainly because I think I was just a moron throwing the wrong shit.
Sure.
Yeah, that might be something to do. Check that out. Try a few places. See what's up.
I bet you that fucking A-rig would work dope in there.
It could. It very well could. It's weird. I tend to lean to throwing like the smallest shit right there because it is so primarily trout heavy.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Although down in that end, there are some pretty decent amount of pickerel you'll come across.
Yeah. But even so, throwing that thing, you might get a slaunch of a brown or something.
Yeah, that's possible.
On that. Yeah.
It is quite possible. I don't know. Might be something. I'm going to have it tied on. Why not?
Thank you, Dark Horse.
Yeah, Dark Horse Tackle. This box is absolutely nuts. So let's talk about the weeks, the fishy shit that's gone on. Joe, let's start with you. Did you get any kind of fishy stuff, even social media stuff that you've got going on? Nothing, huh?
Nothing, dude. I have sucked with the social media. I have sucked with it. I'm getting back into it. I didn't tell you. I thought I lost all of my hard drive of all my shit.
Was that related to your computer issue that you were like something about the wrong cable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it ended up just being, yes. Okay. I did kind of tell you. So I was freaking out about that. I thought I lost all my content on there.
Yep.
And figured it out, got it back. So now we just got to continue to upload stuff and everything.
There you go. That's good. That's a good find.
Yeah. But dude, I didn't get out, and I don't like now. It's a weird time of the year. Like normally I'm like done by now, so I start to make those plans of like other things, and I still got the place where I'm storing it. Like, hey, like when you coming? Yep. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I did. Right now, dude, I'm just thinking about cleaning it up and storing all my, I get in the garage ready to store all my rods and all my gear, take everything out, and that's pretty much it, man. Unfortunately, it's sad.
It's not a bad thing. Holy fuck, we're gonna have some wind today.
Yeah.
Like 20 miles an hour. That's gonna be insanity.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. It is tough. I did see a fantastic meme today. It was a picture of Will Ferrell dressed up as like almost like a girl from like a fairy tale or something like that, you know, like a kid's story.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there holding like a big lollipop, smiling with like pigtails and stuff. And it goes, quote unquote, up at the top, it says fishermen who winterize their boats. And I'm like, huh.
That's fucked up.
And it is. It's a weird fucking statement to make. But I'm like, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
So, for people like us, like, I'm sorry about if you guys hear the dogs bark, and I apologize. I don't know why they're going crazy upstairs right now. Yeah, it's if we don't, like, for someone like you who's got a new boat, someone like me who's got a new boat, if you're not out there fishing, you don't winterize it, and you don't do, like, for instance, if you get water, you go on the windy day today, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And you take on water, it's gonna happen.
Oh, for sure.
Like, there's gonna be water in the bow. And if you don't drain that properly, and we get like all of a sudden we get a crazy freeze at night, that could fuck your shit up.
Yeah,
tonight.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, can it be done? Sure. Is it good for the boat? Absolutely not.
No, you gotta, I think that there's a litany of responsibilities that come with doing, putting something like, your boat at risk like that. Like you're taking a chance for sure.
Yep.
But I totally get it. And it's funny, man. Sometimes, like, I was thinking about it today. My driveway is a hill, right?
Sure.
And I take the plug out every single time. Like, people have asked me before, they're like, why would you ever take the plug out? Why not just leave it in? And I'm like, why would I want water to collect in there at all? I go,
those got to be people that do not have boats.
That's exactly it. Like, it's just ignorance. They're just not. Because I'll be honest with you, before I realized what that plug was for, like, the reason why it even exists is same thing. Like, I was just like, yo, why wouldn't you just want to leave it in there to make it complete? Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, if it rains, it's going to collect water and it's going to do all of this other stuff. Like, you put it on a hill while you're driving it, and you move all that water to the back, it's going to drain. Yeah. The big one, I think, is a lot of people, and I see people at boat launches all the time, and you're supposed to do this to not transport invasive species of vegetation, is drain your outboard every time. Yeah. And that's just lowering it all the way to the lowest position, letting it drain. And once it stops dripping, put it back up.
Yep. I do the same thing.
Yeah. That's how I do it. I mean, I'm probably going to be a little bit more crazy and like find myself a nice big hill and park for like 10 minutes just to make sure everything comes out, Yeah.
But even so, think about that water in your lower end. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't drain that out. All those parts and pieces in there, and all of a sudden you have water expanding into ice inside of there.
That's exactly it. Yeah. You want to avoid all of that shit. Totally understand that.
I'm no mechanic, but I got a little bit of common sense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But if I had a 2003 Nitro, I probably wouldn't do a goddamn thing to that thing. You know what I mean? And just let it rip every year and hope that it starts.
I got to schedule an oil change, or find some resources to just do it myself. Yeah. The problem with doing it myself is the time. So I've got I'm having never done it before. I want to be able to have plenty of time to go ahead and do it. So
just drop it off the mat.
I think that's what I'm going to do.
I actually stopped and talked to him yesterday. Yep. Saw him yesterday.
You know what would actually be a great idea? Drop it off there, then go to the chew. That would be a great fucking idea. That would be an excellent use of my time.
And then it would be done by the time you got back.
It would be done. Yeah, exactly. That might be the move. Something to think about. Something for sure to consider and think about.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, realistically, they'll have it done in a friggin' half hour.
Yeah, exactly. That's no big deal. But yeah, I could drop it off early. Get to it when you get to it. I'll come back at X amount of time and pick her up. We'll be good to go. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
So, we'll get to Lund boats in a moment. But this week was kind of crazy for me. All right. I had initially I was like, yeah, I'm going to get out and fish on Monday. And then I had a bunch of shit like just getting dumped on my plate here and there. It's funny that you mentioned you had an issue with that cable with your hard drive because I thought about you in that situation.
Okay.
Part of what I do for a living, right? Like I said, I own an entertainment company, but I also, the software that I use for trivia, I am like way dialed to. Like every single update, everything else about it. Like I know this software inside and out, and I've kind of carved a role. This started in like 2015, working for that software company as one of the U.S. representatives. Myself and a guy that's up in Maine. He's at a trade show right now, so I'm taking all the calls and everything while he's down there. And one of the things that he normally does is when somebody orders one of our wireless routers for the platform, he will handle the shipping and all that stuff and ship them out there. He warehouses them up in Maine and then sends them. I have a small cache of them so that in this situation where if somebody's got a problem or they make an order, I can ship one out. So I have this one router, this one customer, ironically, is a host in Tewksbury. This is a global game. Like, this just happens to be that he's in Tewksbury. And he had an issue he called me about. And he says, I'm here and I'm trying to get my router to work. And it's doing something crazy. Like the power button's flashing. I can't find the network, whatever. There's a whole other set of issues going on here. I was like, all right, send it to me. I'm going to test it. And then if need be, I'll send you a replacement, And this was like past the window, like when we should have. But Speed Quizzing is an English company. Like they hate to say no to anybody. Really, it's just the way the English are. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, send it over. I got it on Monday and I checked it out and he was right 100%. And I happen to have the replacement right in my hand and I checked it. And I was like, you got to be shitting me. It's doing the same thing. And I told him to send it to me with all the cables that he was using. Dude, the power cable he was using was so thin, it was like 50-pound braided line. 65.
Holy shit.
It was like 65-pound braided line, which for fishing line is fucking enormous.
Yeah.
But like for a power cable for something, it is tiny. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I reached out to Bill and I said, I was like, did you pack these with like different power cables or something? He's like, no. The power cables are provided with, they have manufactured for Speed Quizzing and they show up with it. He's like, I don't know what he did. So he was using the wrong one. I took the power cable out of the box of the new one that I had. Both routers worked perfectly. I was like, you got to be shitting me. So if there's a tip that you can take away there, be aware of the specifications of the power cable that you're using and the device you're trying to power with it. Because I'll bet you this thing wouldn't have even powered like a cell phone to charge. Probably would have maintained the battery, but probably wouldn't have done enough to charge. So it's kind of interesting. But so, Monday I had... there was a little project. Like I think I told, I know I told a handful of people. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Joe, but I have recently started to enjoy listening to audiobooks, specifically trout fishing audiobooks. Like they're just relaxing. You know what I mean? I can kind of relate to it. You know what I'm saying? All the fly fishing stuff is kind of like, I think while I think it's cool, it's not really something that I'm doing right now. But overall, like it's just relaxing. Like Trout Bum is one that I'm reading, and then there's a couple other that are in the queue too. And I'm going through and I'm like, this is nice. I was like, I would love to voice an audiobook. So I got to writing and I put together a little bit of like a report, like an essay about freshwater fishing. And I recorded that. And I'm going to leave the voiceover at the back end of the show so you guys can listen to it. It is on the Jigs and Bigs YouTube with some footage. And that's what I did on Monday. I edited this together with some stock footage of, bodies of water and then some footage from previous videos of me catching fish and fishing with other people and drone shots and things like that. And I put together this little thing, and it looked pretty fucking cool. So I put it on YouTube, and then later that day, I decided, I was like, I'm going to throw this on Instagram too, and I did. And it got way more interaction on Instagram than YouTube, which I think is crazy. And we're going to talk about this stuff with Brandon later in the show of like how different platforms can do, and is there any way to make sense of it all? But it did way better on Instagram, and the comments were insane. like we had all friends of the show that had jumped on there were talking about like, oh, the voiceover. In fact, YP the God, the guy that called in for the Just the Tip clarification today, he even gave me a huge compliment. He was like, dude, those are definite Morgan Freeman vibes right there. And I'm like, I am fucking here for that shit.
Hell yeah.
As a young kid, it never dawned on me how like broadcast like my voice sounded. It was just my voice. I never made any sense. And I hear it now 100%. 100% I hear it. So I recorded this thing and I went through and I edited it like the way I used to do the podcast when it first started. I took out all of the breaths, all of the everything. So it sounds very like natural yet unnatural.
Yeah.
You know, and I put some acoustic music behind there. It was great. The Catch Podcast and Saint Nick at different times. The Catch Podcast commented and were like, holy shit, Lund Boats. And they tagged Lund Boats in there. And they're just like, you need to get Jigs and Bigs to voice over your commercials ASAP. And then Nick DeShane comments in there and he was like, absolutely Lund Boats, something along those lines, backs it up. What was crazy is that later in the week, Lund Boats liked the post. Lund Boats, and I've been following them since like April. Lund Boats started following Jigs and Bigs.
Okay.
Lund Boats also commented about having to have a conversation about this in their next meeting.
Interesting.
Very cool. Do I expect anything is going to happen with that? Absolutely not. But it's still very, very nice to have that in the comments. I was just like, well, that was definitely a nice little feather in my cap a little bit. I was like, that's fucking great. And like Becca even commented, she was just like, oh my God, the voiceover. I was like, you have a video coming up and you want to do something like that? I'm like, you hit me up. I'm like, absolutely. I was like, I'll do a VO for that shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of Becca, if you guys aren't watching her YouTube stuff, she's up in Newfoundland right now with Roaming Reckless, Maria from Roaming Reckless, and they are fucking sending it. They did some mackerel fishing. She caught a giant cod, and they had apparently when you're in Newfoundland, you have to, as a tourist or a visitor, you have to get what they call screeched in. And there's like a whole ceremony. It happens at a bar. You do a shot of, I think, something that they call screech. I don't know what kind of liquor it is or anything like that. And then you have to kiss a cod.
Jeez.
That they keep in the cooler. It's fucked up. So, yeah, they're just having a great time up in Canada right now. So if you're not checking it out, go ahead and do it. Javi says Becca's content right now is so cinematic, dude. Oh, it is so good. It is. Her content has really, really blossomed. It's unbelievable. And I love the connection with her and Roaming Reckless. Like, I think that the two of them work so unbelievably well together. It's awesome. And I love the fact that both their dogs get along like they do. But, yeah, Tim goes, nice potential sponsor. Fuck yeah, that's the goal. You know what I'm saying? That would be huge. It would be huge if we could get them to sponsor Fishing Trivia, really, and they could certainly afford it. They could sponsor the shit out of it for basically what I'm paying for my boat. You know what I mean?
So Bobby, you talked about the audiobooks, right?
Yep.
I'm going to give you a great fishing audiobook to listen to.
Yes.
Jeremy Wade's How to Think Like a Fish.
Dude, I saw that one, and I think it might actually be in the queue.
It's so good.
Does he do the read?
Yes.
That's even better.
Yeah, he does. He does it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That is truly, truly fucking awesome. I gotta go and look at it. You know, and it's, I don't know, it's just one of those things. Like, this is one of those deals where I could 100% see myself, like, even listening to them while I'm fishing, you know?
Oh yeah.
100%. Just like, oh, that's interesting. I absolutely freaking love it. That one book, Trout Bum, was the one specifically with the way they describe the environment, they describe the actions, they describe everything. Yep. It's like, it's really good. As far as an audiobook goes and listening to it in that sort of platform versus reading it, it takes you on the whole journey. You know?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's all about. A couple other things that I did this week was I had got a few things lined up for Something Fishy Trivia. We do have one sponsor that we're currently talking with that's definitely interested. I'll release all that info like once we do Fishing Trivia. You guys will see it. You probably won't see the first one drop until like December at the earliest, possibly January. That was a big chunk of things that I had done was to get like some of the moving parts together. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm allowing some brands to sponsor individual portions of the game. So there's opens and things like that sort of like kick off that round. And I'm using a bunch of our partners from the show, so the brands that you've seen. So when you see the test run that I do later this month with Becca and Ryan Rigged, you'll be able to get an idea of how this is actually going to look on YouTube and everything. And then I had a conversation via Instagram with aggressively average anglers. We were talking some BFS stuff and a few other things regarding, baits and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, dude, what if I had the two of you guys on to play head to head on Something Fishy Trivia? And maybe you guys each reach out to another content creator or just a follower or something like that, and we do a team, like your average scores work together. And he's like, oh dude, that could be great, because Jeff and Paul, like, they have the right kind of chemistry for this.
Right.
They really do. And speaking of aggressively average anglers, they just dropped a video yesterday. And we talked about this on the show a while back regarding like storage and terminal tackle, but they got their hands on that BKK box. And there's a couple of different options where you can purchase it. You can get it with all the hooks and everything that's in there. The one thing I didn't realize about that, it doesn't come with any weights. It's all hooks. And I have a feeling that they might say, well, some people might have like lead restrictions, and we don't want to make it, increase the price too much by going tungsten right out the gate. But if we do lead everywhere, some people might choose not to use the stuff we're supplying them with. And then you can buy just the box by itself for like $25. Just the box. Then they have something called like a starter kit, which comes with like a small cache of those interior boxes that you can customize and fill however you want. And I feel like that's the move for most people who are already doing this, who don't need a ton of hooks because they've already got a bunch of stuff that they're already using. But the thing I love about the way Aggressively Average Anglers does the conversation of new products is they're very real with their position on what they like, what they don't like, and they really have this amazing perspective, like of a real world usage, and they really kind of attack it at all means. And the beauty of it is they're like, yeah, we thought that this was kind of cheap or whatever, but they're like, but you can replace it, for cheap. For real cheap. So I was like, that I think is pretty cool. It's great because there's a lot of people out there that really are looking for feedback, and when you can get that real world perspective, that's huge. It's huge. And also the fact that they're northern anglers, I feel like I'm a little bit more biased because I know that they are fishing some of the same kind of shit that we are over here, I think they get ice much more regularly than we do.
Oh yeah.
I think so. Man, I am stoked. So why don't we go ahead? We'll jump into our headlines, and we'll kind of have a conversation about all that stuff. And this ought to be pretty juicy. You ready, Joe?
Ready. Just when we thought we've gotten away from it, today's headline via Wire to Fish is Bass cheater caught at charity tournament.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Oh, let me get my popcorn.
So an alleged cheater was caught during a charity tournament on Georgia's West Point Lake. The tournament angler was spotted in an area that had contained a pen full of fish the day before, and he seemed to be looking for it. And his actions were filmed, and he was eventually confronted about the matter back at the marina. Prior to the tournament, a charity event to benefit a cancer patient, anglers found a pen full of 5 bass, which weighed approximately 19 pounds, tied to a buoy. The Good Samaritans released the fish, but later realized that they should contact the entity holding the fishing tournament on Saturday, November 16th. On the day of the tournament, the anglers that found the basket hid in the vicinity of where the fish were found the day prior and began recording. They hoped to catch a would-be cheater in the act, and their efforts were rewarded with footage of an angler attempting to retrieve the basket. Curtis Sanders, the alleged cheater, was first observed trying to hook the basket with his rod. Then he was seen sticking his arm in the water in an attempt to find the submerged basket. Unable to find the fish he had allegedly previously stashed, he moved on. The anglers filming returned to Highland Marina where the tournament was being held with the footage they captured. Sanders was confronted at the time, and he initially denied the allegations. But after further pressure, he admitted that he was attempting to cheat in the event. Sanders has told resources that he will return his winnings for the year. Unfortunately, it seems that cheating in tournaments happens more frequently than anyone would like, and outrage about this alleged incident has spread quickly through the angling community. A slew of videos have popped up criticizing the alleged cheater on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, etc. And yeah, that's it.
So there's two things. Before I get into like the big one that I think everybody should pay attention to, I want to say that style of cheating has happened locally. I have a friend of mine that I fish with periodically, and I'm not going to blow up who this is because I don't want anybody to say, look, that motherfucker, if it was them. But he was fishing at the Oxbow in the back, and I think it was like a lipless crank or something he was throwing, and he hooked something huge. And he was like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? And at first he was like, is it a log? Because of the weight. But then it was moving still. So he was like, all right. So he managed to get it in there. And what it was like a dog kennel. It was a dog kennel that didn't have a floor. So it was just a big cage that you could fold up. And there were he said there was like a half dozen absolute tanks stuffed in this thing. And he's like, he goes, so I opened it up. I let them all out. He's like, there were a bunch of boats over there. And he was like fucking yelling at them like, this is for fucking all of you guys. What the fuck? I think there was a tournament going on and he released all the fucking fish. He did tell me that later he saw somebody go around casting to that area where he got hung up looking for it, couldn't find it, and then took off. So I'm like, motherfucker. So that shit does happen here. And I think that is insane. It's ridiculous. And I think at that point, once you're caught, all you can do is give back all your fucking winnings because clearly you're a piece of shit. And
don't show your face anymore.
Yeah, don't. That is not your goal. But the other thing is this. There is a special place in hell for people who cheat during charity fucking tournaments.
Yeah.
It's a charity tournament, dude. Come on. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
It's unbelievable. Anytime you're dealing with some type of an event that's raising funds for a specific usage, and if you're cheating in that, and your goal is to win, take the pot and then take off. I see this when I work like a Jack and Jill, right?
Yeah.
They'll do a 50-50 raffle. And I tell every single couple I work with, don't do that. I said, because you're taking money away from your other raffle. I was like, don't do that. Don't worry about it. You don't need to. What is 50-50? And I go, if somebody wins it, the vast majority of people are going to be torn. Do I keep this money and that I've won that I could keep? Or do I do the thing that most people are expecting me to do, and that's hand it over to the couple? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's an awkward position to be in because a lot of people don't know what they want to do, and they don't want to seem, it's kind of shitty. So I tell everybody, I'm like, don't do a 50-50. It's nuts. With a charity tournament, that happened with the slot limit tournament. Brody gave back 50% of his winnings.
Sure.
To the cause, which was amazing. And I told him, I was like, dude, you don't need to do that. In fact, I have some stuff I got to get to him. I might actually get it to you to just give to him versus shipping it.
Okay.
Yeah. I've spent too much on shipping. I'm not fucking done. But it's kind of nuts, you know. It's like, Tim makes a good comment here. He says we need to use GoPros for tournaments. Must show entire cast and retrieval of fish. You know, there are in the CPR world, there are things that are actually happening with that, where like you have to use your phone. You know, you get the catch in there, you have to have video of you releasing the fish or something like that as like an extra verification. You know, and with CPR tournaments, at least you've got the images, but like there's nothing with a CPR tournament that means that you couldn't have a dog kennel full of fish hidden in the water from 2 days before. You know, God, it's awful.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, there's a special place in hell for people that fish that way. What a dick.
What a dick.
What a fucking dick. And then imagine if you were in that position where you caught somebody's cache of fish that were hidden somewhere and it was an absolute tank, and maybe you got your PB on it and then released them all. Like, that's got to feel great.
Right.
You know, knowing that you just stuck it to them.
Yep.
God damn. Yeah, god damn.
Crazy.
Oh, my goodness. Javi Silva jumps in and he says the biggest thing that he loves about the BKK OCD storage system is that it's a 300 box. He says, I prefer those 3600s rather, over the 3700s. You know what's interesting? It is not a 3600 size box. It's actually deeper, or what am I saying? Taller than it. No, I guess deeper is the right one. Like, if you put a 3600 right on top, you still have like much more of the BKK to go over. The width is the same though, so it does stick out. It is an oddly shaped box, but if they made it a 36 or a 37, it would fit so much better in so many other systems, you know, especially if they did a 37 to be even bigger. You can put more shit in it, you know. That thing's got to weigh so much.
Oh yeah, fucking
insane. But yeah, that was one of the things that aggressively average anglers had done, was they A/B'd it against the 3600. They're like, is it exactly the same? And there's like about that much that sticks out from the backside of it. So like if you put it in something designed to hold 3600 boxes, it's not going to fit all the way in there.
Gotcha.
That's a fucking shit ton of terminal, man. That's fucking insane. I'm all fired up now. I fucking hate cheaters. Yeah. I fucking hate cheaters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow. What a dick.
Crazy.
Well, let's go ahead. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We got more jigs and bigs that we got to get to in our next segment. Then you're not going to want to miss it. And we got Dustoff Fishing, the one and only Brandon Heimericks. He's got the Heimerick maneuver that we're going to be talking about. And what's going on with social media? What are he and I? We see eye to eye on some shit here. It's kind of a mess. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. Much more jigs and bigs coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form podcast content. We need to thank Dark Horse Tackle, Omnia Fishing, A-Bay Lure, The Bay House, and The Ship Motel. We can't forget about Three Bells Outfitters, Torres Sunglasses, and of course, Reaction Tackle. Be sure to check the description of this podcast for any associated affiliate links or promo codes they've generously provided our listening audience. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for Just the Tip or Bait of the Week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, just the tip this week, and we got a good one. We got a real good one, actually. Thing is, with this just the tip, we haven't ever done anything like this where we've had a question come in about fishing, or actually about a previous tip. So it's sort of like a little bit of an expansion right here. So the tip last time had to do with fall fishing, and Joe, what was it that you said? If you could kind of surmise that one, was it?
You know, it was basically just kind of ensuring that you're fishing, you're getting out there in those low light time frames and situations, whether it's morning, evening, obviously, or late afternoon, we should say now this time of year, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So we got a call from the hotline, which is awesome. I love that people are using the hotline for a variety of different stuff. So keep that stuff up, guys. We appreciate that. But we got this call from Brandon in New Jersey, and he's called in a couple of times before. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Hey, Bobby's YP, the guy here. So I checked out your last episode. So you said like late evenings, early mornings, Joe was saying. So like with the time changes and all, so that's like get out there like at 4:30 or 5:30 since it's getting dark at 5. So I would like some clarifications and stuff. And so I could become better angler. Thank you very much for the tips and stuff. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Thank you.
So thanks for the call, Brandon. I appreciate it. But that's a lot of people get hung up on times, different times. And they're like, well, is this the time? Like, what time do I need to be there? And it's because that is a constant that we can look at and say at 5 o'clock, I have to do this, but the thing is when you're dealing, and this is what's so interesting about fishing, and I kind of touch on it a little bit in that little like clip that I put together, is that it takes you out of that world of humanity. You know what I mean? It takes you out of that. So, and it's so funny, Joe, you mentioned Think Like a Fish from Jeremy Wade. That's what you have to do in these situations. It's not about the hour of the day. It's about the sun. It's about the position of the sun.
Yep.
So like a good example is if you take just every single day, like you get up at whatever time and let's say every single morning you get up at sunrise, okay? And you take a selfie with the sun behind you. Over time, you're going to notice that sun's in different positions constantly. Mm-hmm. And that's just because that's the way it works. This is why the calendar works the way that it works, why we have leap years and shit like that, because there's imperfections. And when it comes to fishing, it's less about the time on the clock or on your watch or on your phone, and it's more about when is the sun going down. So like in the situation, and Brandon, if I'm not correct here, you can let us know and we'll fix it. But it sounds like what you're saying is like it throws things off when there's a time change, when you go from daylight saving to standard. All you've got to do is then look at what time is the sun supposed to set at that point. When time is last light. So that's the whole thing. It's just look at that. And if you're using a weather app, if I can make a recommendation, we've recommended this weather app in the past. There are a litany of other apps that you can use for weather, but one of them that I started using when Sean and I started working together is one called Weather Underground. And the vast majority of weather apps that you use will have something a section on the main page that says sun and moon. And it's cool. Like, yeah, you can look at the moon and it'll tell you like the date of like the next new or the next full, stuff like that. But on the sun, it'll show you and on Weather Underground, I like that it gives you this graph where it shows the amount of darkness and the amount of sunlight that you're getting each day. So on there, it'll tell what first light is and then what time sunrise is. And every single day that will adjust a little bit. And then it's on Weather Underground. It actually tells you how many hours of daylight you have for that day. Mm-hmm. Today is only 9 hours and 32 minutes. And I hate that. I hate that.
Right. It's terrible, dude.
It is.
But yeah, it's just a, you know, kind of piggyback what you're saying. I like how you mentioned the sunrise, sunset. That's the, you know, if you want to coordinate it in like reference to like a time, that's what you have to base it off of, the sunrise and the sunset. Once that sun's below the trees and starts to get, you know, below that, essentially down to that horizon, below the horizon, it's game time. That's when you really want to get in there and really start beating up whatever body that you're in. Same goes for the morning. I mean, I caught my biggest fish this year, you know, it was in the summer, but it was at like 5:50 in the morning, you know, it was barely light out. It's just that there's scientific analysis behind it, but it's just that those low light time frames, doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's they're just hot tickets, man.
Statistically, you'll do better in those. It doesn't mean like, it's interesting you said, I'm glad you actually said that, Joe. You caught your biggest fish and it was in those low light conditions. I caught my new PB and it was like 11 a.m. The sun was like directly overhead. However, I caught my fish way under some overhanging trees. So under there, it was still low light.
Yep.
And I think that's something to keep in mind too. Like, everything is relative. So, and the fact, like Joe, you mentioned the tree line, that's super important because every body of water is going to have a different tree line. So what works at a spot that's got tall trees right up to the bank is going to be a little bit different than a spot that like a golf course pond. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That golden hour kind of starts a little bit earlier. You know what I mean, or later, depending on the tree cover.
Yeah. And you can look at it and say, look at each body of water, and then you know that just comes with experience of being on that body of water and knowing like, hey, it gets pretty dark here pretty quick because once that sun goes, you know, there are spots where like I'll give you an example, and it's not fishing related, but there's a venue that I love to do weddings at, and they have they're on a mountain, and to one side, like the mountain top goes up and over. And I mean, I'm talking about 4:30, 4:45 in like August, right? That sun is blocked by the top of the mountain. And you have this big shadow that goes over you. And I pay attention to that because my battery operated shit's not going to fucking burn up and overheat. And also, like, if I'm officiating, I'm not going to be sweating like a whore in church.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you know what I'm saying? So to me, it's just one of those things that you pay attention to. So if somebody books me and it's in like, you know, if it's another venue, I'm like, okay, where are we going to be? Like, what's this going to, and how do I prepare for it? You know, and that's really all it gets down to. So yeah, look at the body of water, look at the sunrise and sunset, look at each day from your weather app there, and then figure out the time that is best to be there. Now, with that out there, I'm going to add to that. And here's the tip. If we have a bonus tip, here's the bonus tip. Don't, like, if the sunset, right, is like today, the sun is setting at 4:55 p.m. That's last light, okay? Sunset is, let's take a look. 4:55 is last light. 4:24 is sunset. Don't get there at 4:23 and go like, it's game on. Get there at 3. Fish into that motion because they might be on a bite. You know, that bite window might be there. You might be in a spot where it's just money. So fish the entire transition from sun into daylight or into darkness if you can. Or get out there a little bit early and rip a buzzbait around when it's pitch black and then get that first light moment as it comes up. Extend that window of fishing as much as you can so that you can be a little bit beforehand and then even a little bit afterwards. Make a few casts after it gets absolutely dark. You know, and see what you can do. Don't limit it to like, well, the sun went down, I'm done. You know, I've been there. You know,
yeah.
You know, oh, fish aren't biting anymore. You know, sun's up now.
Right.
So, yeah, I think if there is a bonus tip there, it's like take advantage of that and extend your fishing on either end so that you can fish the whole transition.
Yep.
You know. Fucking
agreed.
I love that shit. Joe, we never talked about if we had a bait of the week this week or a gear of the week that you wanted to talk about.
Let's let it roll, dude.
Let's
let it roll.
Okay, gearheads, it's time to talk tools. Jigs and Bigs gear of the week.
All right. So this is more of a tip for gear, for baits, for tackle. So Bobby, us up here in the north, obviously we're rolling into the winter, so our purchasing of fishing related items goes down quite a bit. And we essentially stop purchasing, and we start to wait till late winter, early spring to start getting start restocking for for the upcoming season. However,
I kind of purchase a lot of shit all the time.
Yeah, exactly. One thing you have to understand is we are now in a time you have all these Black Friday sales going on, all these end of season sales. So I know for a lot of people it's tough they don't want to purchase. They might be on a budget. They don't want to purchase stuff this time of year. But if you guys want to get great deals on tackle, on rods, reels, any type of, apparel gear, anything like that, now's the time to start really checking that out, because there's some really good sales going on down there, going down everywhere. I mean, everywhere from small companies to larger retailers.
Yeah. If
there's something that you wasn't in your budget throughout the season, go check it out now, because it might just be within your range now. Take advantage of those sales. Another thing is, once the show season starts, that's another great opportunity to get good deals.
Oh yeah.
Don't stop looking around just because it's the end of the season. Now is the time to get those good deals on that stuff that you're looking for. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I don't think I don't think this is something you want to share as a feature with your partner necessarily. Maybe keep this one away from the wife.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's the biggest tip of them all, really, if we're being totally honest. It's like I find I buy shit constantly. Which is shitty, and I shouldn't. But there are things that I like. I'll be perfectly honest. Right now, this is the time of year where I am going to restock on a lot of those like super like micro jigs and things, because I'll be throwing a lot of that stuff this winter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And, obviously like the small, I did purchase quite a few of the like super small plastics, the micro stuff, because, that's what I'm more likely to get bid on by a wide variety of species. And it works for me, and Pig Jigs is going to be getting a lot more of my money.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness. I freaking love it, man. So yeah, let's go ahead. We'll wrap this segment here. We're going to circle back around. We've got the one and only Dustoff Fishing. He's been on the show at least 3 times, possibly even 4 times. And he and I are going to be diving in specifically about Instagram. Like, what the fuck is up, Instagram? And this is going to get pretty good. I love it. I love talking social media stuff with Dustoff, because as passionate as he is about fishing, like he and I are on the same level in a lot of ways when it comes to the end goal for a lot of our fishing, and that for us is creating this content, so I'm looking forward to it. And a little bit of a precursor, we haven't even recorded this segment yet, so I'm saying all this and like I'm really genuinely excited, and I have no idea what this conversation is going to be like, and you guys, we'll see what happens. We'll see you guys on the back end to close this sucker out. Don't go too far. More Jigs and Bigs coming up right after the hiss. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Guys, Bobby Roast Beef here. We are in the Beef Seat segment. In the Beef Seat this week, we have a guest that we've had on the show at least 3 times, maybe even 4 times, I think, in the past. Brandon Heimrich's the one and only Dustoff Fishing with us. Folks on social media just can't get enough of him, but lately, I feel like Dustoff might be a little bit jaded, a little bit when it comes to some of these platforms, and maybe that's putting it lightly, to tell you the truth. Brandon, how you doing, buddy? How's things?
I'm good, Bobby. You're a glutton for punishment letting me back on your show, man.
I know, dude. But you know what? That's one thing that I think, who was it? It was Armando from Bass Kayak and Beers. He put this idea in my head that I was the Howard Stern of fishing podcasts, and I'm here to own it. So I'm here for it, man. Fits. Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah. You're missing like your hot blonde like co-host or whatever it is that he does.
I am trying to put together a little bit of a whack pack in a way. Like we got Josh Codier who comes on every once in a while, and but I think we need our Beetlejuice is really what it is. We need a Beetlejuice.
Absolutely.
Although there's Lockwood, he's in the fold too, and that's just a whole other kind of beast.
I miss that guy.
Me too.
Shout out to Lockwood.
Dude, he's a real one. I actually had a conversation with him a couple weeks ago about the idea of planning a little snakehead send. And I was like, listen, man, I got a bunch of friends that want to come down. I was like, they can take the kayaks. I'll take the boat down. I was like, you and me and our old asses will hang out in the boat, take it easy, cooler full of ice cold drinks, and we'll just, we'll catch them. We'll make it happen. But, we don't have to go paddle around like maniacs either.
Well, for your audience, if they don't know who we're talking about, it's this guy who looks like he lives in the woods full time. Mm-hmm. And he has this like little sweet spot that he likes to fish. And he and I went once.
That's right. I forgot you guys had fished together.
And we went in like a thunder and lightning storm at night in that boat. And we're like videoing like, oh my God. And we were like, fuck it, so it was full send, caught a ton of fish. Great time.
It was wild. We got down there, and it's so funny the contrast of the wholeness of Lockwood fishing, because like you guys are out in the thunder and lightning and everything, like out there making it happen. Delirious and I rolled down and we met Sean the fisherman at Lockwood's place, and you know he's there. He's got blue crabs out ready and like all this whole spread ready to go. So we're sitting there. We're about, because our plan was we were going to camp. We don't want to put them out and take up space in the house or anything like that. We're going to camp, and then like you know we hear a little bit of thunder. We're like, we better get this stuff set up fast so we can get into our spots and be good to go when it really comes down. And he's like, no, guys, you guys are all sleeping in the house. No, I'm not going to have anybody out here getting taken out by lightning on my watch. And on the other side of the coin, you guys are out on the water. Like that's not, but that's how about fishing he is.
Yeah, it was epic. And he didn't give a shit if he caught fish. He put me on fish all day. And it was a really, really good time. I think I caught a 5.5 pounder.
That's not bad.
On a jig there. That was a good time. So let's see if I'll pull that picture up while we're talking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was we had a real rough time. We had a cold front come through, and then we didn't realize it at the time, but so we fished I think on a Saturday. No, we fished on a Sunday. And the previous Saturday there was a snakehead and a bass tournament on that river at the same time, and I'm like, oh geez, I can only imagine. I think we fished for probably 6 hours, then I put a yellow perch in the boat, and I was like, I am stoked. Well, I'll take what I can get, man. God bless the Ned rig.
Oh yeah, everybody hates on that Ned rig until it's time to pull one out.
When you need it, that's what I'm saying. So
I mean, I'm a Ned rig apologist here. I know people think it's unmasculine, if you will, to throw a Ned rig. But
and that kind of shit that's just irritating, man. Like, evolve a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the Big Bass Bash the year before this, so 2 years ago, was won on a Ned rig.
Yep.
And then this year it was one on a tube jig, which to me, there's no difference.
Pretty much the same thing. Anything like sub 4 inches, that's, a small jig or weight, it's basically all the same. There's no reason to mystify it. So let's talk about social media and all that kind of jazz, because you put up a post that I was like, your frustration with Instagram specifically as a platform seemed to really, really, really be on display at that point. And I gotta say, when I read that, I was like, man, I totally know what he's saying. I feel it. I really, really, really think that for the last couple of years, at least for myself, I've put a lot of eggs in that Instagram basket, and I am not seeing a return on it,
Yeah, I think it resonated with a lot of people. I got more views, likes, comments, replies on that than I had any story ever. And just to wrap it up for your folks at home here, it was essentially me saying I had 2 reels that hit 1 million views. I've got 65,000 followers.
Yep.
Which I used to have 70 until like Instagram turned into a crazy person place. And I made exactly $0 off of all of that entertainment, if you will, on the Instagram platform. And why the fuck am I doing that? Because it's work. It's my time.
Yeah.
It's costing me time, which is costing me money. I'm dedicating to it. And for those of you in the fishing world, generally speaking, fishing sponsors, if that's what you want to call fishing sponsors, they don't spend money. They don't care, because the market is saturated with creators that will do stuff for free or free product or whatever it is.
You can get free product all day, man. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. If you have a, generally speaking, an account over, maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers, which is whatever.
Nuts.
Yeah. You can get at a minimum discounts and be sponsored, which I'm putting in quotations for people on the radio, because that's everybody's like goal in the beginning, is to legitimize yourself with sponsors. And so Instagram, in my opinion, uses that to their advantage.
For sure.
They have all of us idiots on their platform doing dumb shit like posting every day and creating content specifically for Instagram, and they're not compensating anybody. YouTube compensates, TikTok compensates, Facebook, which is a meta platform, compensates. Instagram used to, and then they quit. When they caught up with TikTok, they quit.
Which is weird because TikTok, because of that compensation, you would think that TikTok now is just going to step on Instagram. You know what I mean?
And the thing about TikTok, which is kind of funny, is like once you monetize on TikTok, they quit showing their stuff to people. I think Ramon was telling me he made like $1 the other day, which is like big monetization on TikTok. So I think the frustrating part for me is personal frustration.
Yeah.
The amount of work and time that I have put into this over the years, I essentially put all my eggs in the Instagram basket. And truthfully, I'm having a little buyer's remorse.
Are you? You got started with Instagram right around that 2020, 2021.
I did November of 2020.
Yeah. So when I started with Instagram, it was, I think, like March or April of 2020. And it was one of these things where we saw great growth immediately. You know, it was just like next thing, you know, we hit 1,000 and we was like, holy shit. And then from there, it was just like, you know, we would do things to engage with the following. And the goal for us was always to engage the following on Instagram and have them, you know, there was a point where it seemed like everybody who was was following us on Instagram, slightly more people were following us than were listening to the show. And now that number of people that follow us on Instagram is like in a month. I mean, any given month, it's way more people follow us on Instagram. And then what's odd, more than twice the amount follow us on Facebook. And we do nothing over on Facebook except regurgitate the posts that from Instagram, you know. Occasionally we'll stream live to Facebook, but that's it. Occasionally.
I mean, if I could walk through that journey, you know, Instagram, when we first started, prioritized comments, shares, saves. So they prioritized engagement. Yeah. So if you got a lot of engagement on your posts, Instagram would show it to more people.
Yep.
Well, the algorithm changed, and then it turned into essentially watch time. How long your attention held the audience, or how many times somebody watched your reel consecutively.
Yeah. The focus is always, was at once Reels became a regular thing, it was like Reels Central. It was like TikTok Lite.
Yeah. And some people that jumped on the Reels bandwagon early experienced quite a bit of growth, quite a bit of benefits from that. So while the rest of us were kind of figuring out like what this kind of thing, how do we do this Reels thing? You know, because when we first started, we just thought, okay, well, you just have to pick the right song and
put your post to it.
Yeah. And then it all of a sudden it's just going to go viral. And that's not how it works. So anyway, and then they started paying people to do that.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
I never got a piece of that.
I did, but you probably make money on Facebook. I make no money on Facebook because, again, I've made some mistakes, but essentially I created a Dustoff Fishing page based off of my other profile, my personal profile. And I have more people that want to follow me on the personal profile than they do on the page. So I've kind of split my followership. So anyway, it's muddy. You know, every time we make an adjustment for Instagram, and now again, like you said, Instagram has now like stopped prioritizing growth. Like they don't, like you don't grow. People don't generally grow. Yeah. I mean, some people, I don't. But they'll show your stuff to tons of people. I'll have 38,000 likes on a post, and I've made $0 on it, you know? So I have, you know, I expressed that frustration. The algorithm, in all of its wisdom, realized that people liked what I was saying. Yeah. Showed it to more people. Even if it was bad about Instagram, they don't care. They're like Lindsay Lohan. All publicity is good publicity.
For sure.
Yeah. there's no such thing as bad publicity when it comes to social media. So rant over, but that's kind of how we got to where we are. And along the way, I've made some good friends, some good sponsorships. I'm not saying it's all negative.
Yeah.
I've kind of had to learn my way along that. I've actually thought about just building kind of a class for people, like a video class on what I've learned about working with companies and businesses, what I learned about social media, kind of how you can kind of grow and develop your audience, how to do editing, and a lot of things with Instagram, but specifically for fishing. But you need time for that, and at this point in my life, time is a valuable commodity.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, time will always be the most valuable quality to anybody who's got a pulse.
Have you ever heard that saying? It was like, time is the only asset that you spend without regard, without knowing the balance.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's when you look back, you'll drive yourself crazy thinking of the things that you've done chasing, like whatever dream or whatever plan or anything like that, the time that you wasted, you'll drive yourself nuts. It's definitely best not to pay attention to that. But like this year was an interesting year. I made a switch. Not like, I'm not one of those people that's like all or nothing. Like, I quit this, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, something like that. With Instagram, it was just so hot in 2020 when I started with the podcast that it made perfect sense. Plus, in my business life, I have right about the same amount of followers on Instagram that I do on Facebook, but and I've tried using other platforms as well. I just cannot wrap my head around TikTok necessarily. I had a friend recently tell me that they felt that I should probably just kind of say fuck it for a year or two and just start going live on TikTok, selling products to then get something rolling, some momentum. And I'm not 100% sure how to do that. The mechanics are crazy. Like you mentioned, like Ramon selling products or Ramon making money on TikTok, even if it's only $1. The only things I'm seeing on Instagram are those walking treadmills, the fucking Rhino ratchet straps. I occasionally see like these 18-volt batteries for tools that will pop up every so often. And then I will see like people live fishing. And I'm like, is that really worth doing? Should I try and do that? Take my phone on a mount on the boat and just go fish for a couple of hours. And just actually try and do that. But if I have to sell, I don't get it. Like, I don't want to sit there on the boat and go, oh yeah, these Rhino ratchet straps are fan-fucking-tastic. You got to get it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I got to figure that part of it out. The one thing this year that kind of switched and I've been having a blast with is YouTube. And it all started when I realized that YouTube was an actual podcast platform. Because you can feed YouTube your RSS feed. So when you do a podcast, you work with a website that hosts your podcast. They basically keep it on their server, and then you will go ahead and share an RSS feed to get that audio on all the different platforms, or video if you do a video podcast. But what's interesting about YouTube is I was able to punch that in, and every week without me doing an upload, bing, there's the new podcast that shows up. With the cover art is the image that you see, and it just plays the audio. And I was like, well, shit, I got to just give more to this. So I started doing videos, creating going out, showing like the fishing that I'm doing. This winter, my plan is to do a little bit more like planning and tips and trip organization and shit like that, really showing like the behind the scenes of Jigs and Bigs. The reaction, though, the climb has been fucking steep. Like we just got 405 followers. And I think when I started, we had maybe 80. Just from the jig heads that would jump in and subscribe to the channel because they're like, yeah, if they ever do anything here, cool, something like that. Because that's where our Patreon feed goes. We have unlisted lives there every single week almost. So it's just nuts. And then I realized, I was like, yeah, I think YouTube might be onto something. You know, and there was a friend of mine who was like, you know what? All the stuff that you're dumping into Instagram, just dump it into YouTube on Shorts too. You'll get some, but the algorithm changed recently with Shorts. Like they don't have the weight, I guess, that they used to. So I'm just throwing everything at the wall in every direction and hoping something works out. But I'm an old man, Brandon. I'm confused. You know what I mean?
I think the general idea of all the algorithms, though, is that they figure out who you are. So for you podcasts, if you branch out, and I don't know this for a fact, but if you do, I would be interested to see how that does compared to your other content.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you know, like I fly Blackhawks for the Army. I will put some of that stuff on my page sometimes, knowing full well that they will show it to 3,000 people.
Yep.
You know, but they'll show me fishing in a kayak to 25,000, even if it's terrible, just because that's like, it knows who I am. It knows what my audience is, and it knows what like right looks like with that stuff. So one of the pieces of advice for YouTube I got, and I think I'm at like 1,300 followers, but
that's awesome. I've heard that the first 1,000 is brutal.
Yeah. Well, I was making videos on a regular basis. I would say bi-weekly, and these were like pretty good fishing videos or kayak walkthroughs and stuff like that. I kind of just burned out on that long form editing.
It's tough.
That is the thing that if I could like get a superpower, it would be, you know, genius editor 101, figuring that out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just think that Jeff Little told me one time, he said, you know, you should do either shorts or long form, but don't do both, because for some reason, like one makes the other one suffer. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was something he told me. And then, like I said, that niche part, like look at the stuff in your page that does well and replicate it. Like there's a guy I watch every week called 618 Fishing. And
Nick?
Yeah.
Dude, he is awesome. Yeah. He's right in your area, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in the St. Louis area.
Yeah. I want to have him on the show so fucking bad.
I think he just takes the same template on like Premiere Pro.
Yep.
Replaces the videos in order or sequence, you know, for the not all or everyone, but a lot of the time. And then he just does this. Hey, you know, he has the intro in his car. He gets to where he's going. You've got the video on either the e-bike that he's sponsored by, or him walking to the spillway. He tells you what he's using. He catches the fish. Then there's like this montage of like close-ups of his, you know, fishing poles or the water.
All the B-roll is great.
Yeah, and then he goes right back into another catch.
Yep.
You know, you have some other kind of stuff in there, and then he leaves. And he does that over and over and over and over and over. And basically that is how he is successful, is because he has consistency, and he has a guide or a template, or like he's found that one thing that kind of is his niche, he sticks to it. He, you know, makes tweaks to his thumbnails or his, you know, his captions or whatever. But for the most part, like, you know, every time in that video what you're getting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I think that is the key, is like, just, you know, find what works and then repeat it ad nauseum.
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious about your editing process. Because I hear this all the time from a lot of people. They're like, editing is so brutal, like it's so difficult. And then there's creators who are like, I just fucking love it. Like, I don't know if you're familiar. It's not a fishing channel, but it's more like overlanding, travel, roaming reckless.
Not familiar.
Maria. Oh, well, so she says often in her video, she's like, I love editing. So when I get to a spot, or we have, like, she was on this trip in Newfoundland, Canada with Becca, and they were on a ferry ride back to the mainland that was 8 hours long. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to take like 6 of those hours and dump it into editing and just crank out. And in there, she actually did a time lapse of her process of what she's doing. And I'm not sure exactly what software was that she's using, but she's just like one of those people that, like, you can see that she's like dialed. You know what I mean? Like, she's just tenacious with going and putting it together. And like, I mean, I've got some background in television, and you know, I know editing's just part of it. You know what I mean? Once I've figured out, and I've started to figure out a new platform to edit from that's made my life easier. But when I started, I was like, you mentioned Premiere Pro. That's like the name. Everybody's like, oh, you got to edit on Premiere Pro. It's like, I'm like, I was editing my first videos, the shit that really blew up and started doing well on the GoPro app on my phone. Like just dragging and like grabbing the highlights from whatever clips and putting them together. And I was a little bit like limited. Like I didn't have the ability to do proper voiceovers or overlaying B-roll or anything like that. It was very much clip. And it worked great. It did fine. I got a little bit bored with it. And then I decided, I was like, I saw a video on, it was like a 10 like tips for CapCut. And a lot of people use CapCut on their phones and stuff for whatever. I didn't know CapCut made a desktop version. And they do, and it's great. And I started using it, and I've been like, you know, in the beginning, like the first couple of videos, I was intentionally throwing like every single feature I could at it just to try it and then release something and see, you know, what the response was. And now I've kind of honed it in a little bit more. I'm still kind of finding my footing, but I'm curious, like, what's your editing process like? Like, how many sources are you getting your clips from? And like, how do you plan out your video content? How do you plan out your content, period?
Well, you can take as many cameras as you can edit for, right? So unlike Premiere Pro, you can have like, you can essentially set up the three. You have to sync the audio generally, yep. And you can do that by like a clap or some sort of loud noise in the beginning. And then you find that, and you can actually, Premiere Pro will synchronize the video clips for you if it.
That's nice.
You know, they all have the same audio. So, and then essentially you can go, if you know how to use Premiere Pro, it's really good, but it's really hard to learn in the beginning. It's like almost frustratingly hard to learn in the beginning. But once you get used to it, it's almost like I said, and it also has some cheats. Like there are some plugins that you can put into it that will help you like splice and cut clips. But ultimately, if I were going to give anybody advice, it would be just take one camera and do something very kind of basic and short. Use an app like you just talked about, CapCut or iMovie.
Oh yeah.
Just simple clips, simple text, simple music. You know, Epidemic Sound is like one of the places you can get free royalty-free music.
Yep.
And just kind of experiment with that first. If I would have it to do over again, I would do that because it's like I said, it's intense and laborious to go through the Premiere Pro process, especially with multiple cameras and kind of like zoom ins and zoom outs and key. I forgot what they're like keystrokes or key points or the little triangle things in there. But my process is essentially like, what can I get away with on this trip and like have enough battery and enough like memory card. And I eventually got to a point where I was just doing looping on my GoPro. So I would just loop 5 minutes. If I do something, I would just press the capture button. It would automatically put the last 5 minutes, and then it would start a new loop. And then essentially you just have 5-minute clips throughout the trip. And so you're only catching essentially the action. You don't have to talk the whole time. That's another thing people should probably do, is that they need to understand that a lot of times it's about filling the space with words. Yeah. And it's not about catching the fish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times where people, they want to see that fish catch, you know, the completion. I think one of the things that I always kind of struggled with, and when I was before this summer, I was doing most of my content creation that was visual for short form. So it was all Instagram. It was all, you know, and then I would collect, like a good example was when I did that trip up in Maine with Delirious. I had gone out and we were up there for like 4 days, and I didn't even use a GoPro. Everything I did was on my phone, and I would do everything in portrait mode, and I would just take video, and I would go and I would use the GoPro app and edit everything, and I would do it in parts. So this video might be like 3 or 4 minutes long. And then I would put together over the course of the entire trip, I'd string all of them together and then do a post where it was on YouTube. you know, with just like brackets with promoting the show with the logo on either side, or like whomever, or you know, whatever I wanted to do on the sides to advertise something. I can use that as space. And then there was the portrait slice in the middle where you could see all of the stuff, and it was okay. One of the videos that really like kind of blew my mind was I recently did a video with a friend of mine where we had gone out, and I had full intentions of flying the drone and getting like some nice shots, but we had awful wind. And then oddly enough, I happened to catch this on video. There was a dude that got up on the bow of his boat to take a leak. Not weird, right? Eric and I kind of turn our backs as like, hey, man, we're going to do the most privacy we can give you out here on the water. That's what we're going to do. And these guys, it was like 11 a.m. They were probably already drunk. Well, this dude fell off the boat into the water, and it was like 43 degrees outside, air temp. I don't know what the water temp was. I think the water temp might have been like low 50s. And he could have fucking died. Like, it was bad. And I went back through the footage, and you could actually see where he fell into the water. And he was at the side of the boat, like, almost as fast as I could even react. It was ridiculous. So, like, thinking a little bit more of, like, how can I make this a little bit more cinematic? Like, I was able to do a voiceover on top of that. And then zoom in a little bit to get the picture of him like holding onto the side of the boat and shit, because like the camera was rolling the entire time. That's one of the nice things, man, about, and I recommend everybody do this. If you're making video on your kayak, get a large battery and wire your boat so you don't have to, because GoPros work better when you take that little battery out. They just do, you know? And it's just, I don't know. It makes life so much easier when you're not worried about batteries and stuff. But you're right. Like when you're doing like having that over the shoulder or a hat cam that's just doing loops like that, you don't really need a million casts that are going nowhere, you know? But when you're talking about filling that space with words, this is what I got to do. I got to get a microphone so I can get nice, clear audio instead of the bullshit that I'm using now.
You can essentially become good at YouTube, in my opinion. I'm not a YouTube expert. I'm probably more of an Instagram expert. But you look at guys like Richard Gene, the fishing machine. He takes out one camera.
Yep.
The guy could invest in a microphone. That would be helpful, but he doesn't. And he just goes out and he does his thing. And I think he probably has his son edit his videos for him, because I just don't see him editing videos.
Oh, yeah.
So he knows who he is. He knows his job. He knows what works. And every one of his videos are essentially the same.
Yep.
He gets used to saying the same things. I'm using a loop knot. This is how you tie a loop knot. I'm using shad. This is how you know. And so ultimately the answer to this, I think, is whatever you can do that is repeatable and sustainable. You're talking about the battery, right? Well, a lot of the older GoPros, if you take the battery out, they won't run off external power unless you do a software upgrade to them to make them run. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
So the newer ones do fine, but a lot of the older ones, you have to actually like hack them so that they can use that power. The other thing is you have to have a battery, deal that doesn't require a pull, so it just pushes power instead of pulls power. And this is a big kind of thick one too. You learn all of this stuff while you're trying to make this content, and it's like, God, if somebody could just have told me all of this shit in the beginning, I would not have spent all this damn money on stuff that doesn't work or doesn't help. All that.
You're right, 100%, because there's, I don't know how many people I have had a conversation with, or I've had conversations with guests from the show that make content, and they're like, so many people ask about, well, hey, how do you get into this? How do you do it? And I mean, I'll be totally honest with you, man. I think before anybody spends a dime doing anything, if you have one of these, you've got what you need to get started. There's no limitation there. This is more powerful than most people's laptops. You know?
Yeah, and they make the ability with the cell phone to wear it and wear it vertical or horizontal.
Yep.
So some of the people I know, they just have two of these. One that just does the video stuff, and one they actually use to make phone calls. You know, so I agree. Just the answer is just get started.
100%. Yeah, you got to just get started, because there was, I think in the first year of Jigs and Bigs, I came across some kind of a quote, and it was some kind of podcasters group, and they're just like, how do you get started making a podcast? Make one. You're never going to get to your 50th episode if you don't do your first. And your first is going to suck. It's not going to be what, episode, 50 or 200 or whatever is going to be. I mean, some people would say that Jigs and Bigs has gone downhill from that, but you know what I mean? It's like you'll never get there, and you just got to write off the fact that, hey, this is lame. And if your stuff is really that lame when you release it initially, wait till you get 10 or 12 episodes and just drop them.
And my advice to people that are just starting, because I suffered from this, is like you get discouraged if you have like 12 views or. That too. A lot of times what happens is you get people that have that issue, and then eventually when they're consistent and they grow, people will actually bring those videos up to, new levels, and when they're monetized instead of, back when they weren't. So I just don't get emotionally invested in how well or how bad something does based off of your perception for it. Yeah. I have had so many videos that I thought, this is awesome. I caught this big fish, or whatever. And like, ultimately, my best video ever is me walking around the garage with my daughter following me with a camera and me going through a native slayer. It's like, you never know what's going to do well. You just kind of have to, like I said, tweak here, there, make adjustments, and just be consistent. Like you said, you're never going to get to your 50th podcast, your 50th video, if you don't just keep making them.
It's funny because I had this conversation recently with a friend of mine who makes content, and they were like, I'm working on this, next batch of videos, like this next series, and it's going to be so good. Nobody's going to see them, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to perform, but the performances are going to be a 6 out of 10. But like, I'm putting my heart and soul into these things because I really, really enjoy them. And then when like you get to, it's different when you like have been following, not even like if you're friendly with a creator outside of like social media or anything, but if you've been following a channel for a while and then you see something come out and you're like, wow, that really just hit. That was great. I appreciate that because I follow this creator's stuff. But they're like, then if you look at their numbers, you're like, there's a big fluctuation, and what was it? Who knows? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, what I try to do is often, as I tell myself, who cares? Just let it be, like, on to the next. Accept it and move on, Yeah,
and I think sometimes people will morph their content. Like, they'll try to get too fancy with it. I particularly, I watch a guy, Greg Blanchard's his name.
Yep.
And
great content.
He's very well known in the kayak fishing industry because of his content.
Oh, yeah.
And I enjoy his videos. I watch them every week, but I don't enjoy the parts where like they're drinking beer at like the Airbnb, or they're like going through the tourney recaps with all the group of people. Like, I know this is going to sound stupid, but I came there to watch him fish. I didn't come here to watch all this other stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean other people don't like that. That's what's great about YouTube, is you can watch whatever you want, and then you can just throw away the rest. And so, I wouldn't necessarily. I know people sometimes want to see like the behind the scenes stuff. They like want to know you as a person. They want to feel like they can connect with you. And I get that a lot on Instagram, and I struggle with that, showing who I really am. Yeah, I'm better in like scenarios with you on this podcast for some reason than I am on my own phone just with a live. But I think sometimes you can kind of get cute, and there's a delicate balance there, essentially. And I know that we're in an industry of fishing where you have this dichotomy. You have these people that are like the purists, like the major league fishing people and all those folks. And then you have guys like pond boys that fish like the pond and catch big fish that, you could probably throw a a Cinco in every pond and catch one or whatever.
For sure.
I'm not knocking either group, but it's almost hard to cater to everybody. So you kind of just have to know where you fit in. I learned a long time ago that nobody follows me because of my fishing tips and my fishing tactics. I'm entertaining and funny, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but
that's great. Now you don't have the burden of having to educate somebody.
But when I do a sponsored post with like a lure company and I'm talking about throwing this lure and catching these fish and all this other stuff, it doesn't do nearly as well as it should.
Yeah.
Because that's not what my people are there for.
Yeah.
But I can tell this company, I can make you a 5 to 7 second reel that'll be seen by 3 million people, or I can make you a 1 and 30-second video that you want that'll be seen by 2,000.
I think we got to flip it on people. I think we got to flip it on the businesses. And I just had this situation recently, and I mean, these are my homies. I'm of course just going to give the content to these guys, but I recently caught a 5-pounder. Actually, okay, so this is fucking breaking all kinds of walls here, but this episode this podcast that we recorded, Joe and I, it was the morning before I went out that day. So when this show runs, this didn't happen yet, but you and I are recording now hours before this is going to get uploaded, and this happened. So after I was done recording the show with Joe, I had gone out with a buddy of mine to this local pond. We call it Congamon Junior, right? It's a shithole. The water's toxic. Like, you can't eat the fish out of there. It's a mess. And it's got a reputation for cookie cutter dink bass and small chain pickerel, like little snot rockets everywhere. And like, when I'm like doing this multi-species scavenger hunt, I'll go around there and I'll throw like downsized lures to try to catch as many species as possible. And I'm generally good to catch a pickerel, a bass, some kind of a sunfish, and a crappie, maybe rock bass on occasion. So there's a handful there that can be caught. So I'll go and I'll do that, and it's fine. But very rarely, I think once I caught a largemouth that was over 17 inches, and I was like, holy fuck balls, this is nuts, right? This one day, we had clouds, we had crazy wind, like 20 plus mile an hour gusts. It was intense. And I just got my Dark Horse tackle box from a company called Bass Dope, their baby umbrella rig, right? It's a 3-wire umbrella rig, right? Real downsized. I have 3-inch Kitex on there, and I'm throwing this thing around, and I'm just hammering fish with this. I couldn't believe it. Like a 20 plus inch pickerel right off the rip, a small dink largemouth, very typical for this. And that pickerel was the biggest pickerel out of that body of water I had ever caught. Then I caught my first trout out of this body of water on an umbrella rig, right? Murdered his gills. Like this, he choked this so bad. The hook point was like up and around his gills. It was so bad. He was dinner. Those are edible because they're stocked. That's the only reason why I'm like, yeah, I'm going to eat that one, because they're stocked. And then I caught a 5-pound largemouth, right? Fishing along this one bank way out in the back, and I decided to make a cast out deep just to see. And that, like, it was all of these fish hit it where slack went right into the line. And then I'd reel down real quick and then just jack them. We got this fish in the boat. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Now, Josh and Zach at Dark Horse Tackle, they're my homies. I love those. I love Dark Horse. I love what they've done with Dark Horse. I love where it's going. It's just fantastic. I, of course, immediately after getting all the pictures and the video and everything, I sent them the videos, and I was like, you guys are never going to believe this, because I have the footage of me holding the bait, afterwards, like, this is what it was, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, can we post this? I was like, abso-fucking-lutely you can. I'm wondering if maybe we come up with a plan where there's a certain number of followers on whatever account, and we just hold that video and we give maybe like a low resolution copy to the company and say, hey, this just happened. I created content. That's the price tag. Because how many people are catching giants on this one specific bait? Isn't that the best thing they could possibly show? I'm not saying that I catch giants all the time. I don't. No. This year has been amazing for me. You know what I mean? But like, in those situations, you know, and you might not be on some giants for quite some time, you know what I mean? But the price is going to reflect that. Like maybe that's the way we flip it.
Yeah, I think you gotta have to understand the business.
I don't think they would do it.
No, they might. I doubt it. I think generally speaking, a lot of the fishing companies will say, you know, we really want to partner with people that like and use our stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
However, that being said, you know, you kind of have different ways to make money with content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the sponsored stuff where people, you know, long-term, year, 2 years sort of deals. And then for me, like my most profitable year was this year. And part of the way I made the most money was doing basically third-party content for other companies. So like I did a trip to Nebraska for Trip Scout. I stayed at a place called the Big Blue Ranch. I did a bunch of content with Ryan Reed, who's the real yak dragger. And I had a posting schedule. I had, you know, certain reels on certain days. I had certain collaborations I had to collaborate. It was this whole like very professionally done.
Yeah.
Very like on timeline, very, you know, like upload requirements, 30 videos, 10 pictures, you know, just all this stuff. It was like a job. It was
I was just
like
going to say that. Yeah. Like a job.
Yeah. It was like a job. That's what it felt like to do this for a living for me. And then like Darn Tough was another company I worked with, Darn Tough Socks, where I had no requirements to post anything on my page. They just wanted the videos. They wanted to have input. I had a certain number of edits that were limited. And then I gave it to them and it just showed up everywhere. It showed up on Instagram. It showed up sponsored posts on Instagram and Facebook. It was like, it was crazy. And that's another way that you can make content. So you talked about editing. One of the things that I've learned the most is that short form editing is my favorite and CapCut is the program that I use the most. I love that. And so that is easy for me. It's intuitive and natural. And like you said, everything is on the phone. There's no like uploading into the GoPro app or downloading an SD card onto a computer and then transferring it to some, you know, cloud drive that then none of that. It's like, it's already here. I just go to it. Done. I do my edits. It's done. And so I have to get out of my comfort zone a little bit with that. But I think businesses, like to go back to your picture with the fuzzy part is, I think if you were Kevin Van Dam or Jacob Wheeler and you had a big ass fish with somebody's lure, they'd be like, yeah, absolutely. We'll pay you for that. But if you're Bobby Roast Beef and you're known for like giving hot takes on, you know, whatever, like, you're not known for your
of course
expertise in fishing. You're just like, how do you know that wasn't lucky or, you know, whatever?
Sure.
I think they're probably less inclined to do that. You know what I mean?
I think the thing is I think that you're going to see, if you were to do it that way, I think you'd find a lot of these companies to be like, no, we're going to pass over and over and over again, regardless. Because I don't think that they put enough value on that. You know?
I see people give away free pub all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, you know, if I tag, you know, this company, it'll get reposted on their page and then I'll get all these followers. Well, in my experience, I've never gone to like Berkeley, seen somebody's stuff posted there and gone, oh, I want to go follow that person and then just gone and followed them. No, that's not how it works. And Berkeley didn't pay a dime for that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm curious, was it now, like you mentioned those two specific jobs that you had done that were very different, like specifically with the one that was more like, what was it, Travel Scout, you said?
Trip Scout.
Trip Scout. So it was specifically with that one, with all of the work that was entailed. Was it worth it at the end of the day? Like, was the compensation equal to the workload?
I'm gonna tell you. I mean, I can tell you exactly what I got paid because
you don't have to, but
we're here to give the deets though. Right?
Okay,
people
fair enough.
Right? So I basically was given a stipend for like meals and gas. They paid for the place I stayed.
Yep.
I had to have receipts for all of these things.
So they covered all the expenses.
Yep, they covered all the expenses, and then I was required to do, I think, 6 videos and 2 like carousels at the end of it. And then I had to upload 30 videos
Yep.
of raw content and 10 pictures.
And they can use that for whatever they decide.
However they want to use it. And then I had, other kind of minor rules and collaborations, and my timeline looked kind of like 30 days.
Yep.
Essentially from start to finish.
Yep.
I got there in June, I think June 19th, and I had my last post, I think, on July 16th. If you go to my page, you'll see some of this stuff. But
no kidding.
It was, I think I made $3,500 for that.
Okay, that's not terrible. For about a 30-day window, that's not terrible. I mean,
no, I think that was a fair offer. I think I earned that $3,500.
Oh yeah, you worked for it for sure, man.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of times you'll see companies that I've negotiated with a company. They've asked my prices. I've sent them. They've declined.
Yeah,
I've basically come back with a different, more, I'd say, medium offer, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it." And so like a lot of times people, I think, are afraid to ask for what they think they're worth. And then I think they're afraid to turn down what they're worth. They're like, well, I was not going to get paid, and now at least I'm making something. I think you're going to have to avoid that. At least I'm making something mentality.
I see that in my business all the time, dude. I'm seeing it happen right now. This last wedding season, it was painfully obvious it's happening.
The biggest trap I would fall in is like, I would say somebody would reach out, and it would be a kind of a crappy deal. They would say, some sort of like free product and discount and some other stuff. But they were like,
yep.
Let's just use this as an example. It's not a hat company, but let's say they're a hat company. I'm wearing hats anyway. I don't have a hat sponsorship. I might as well at least get something, right? Well, what you'll find is you'll do that. And then 9 months down the road, a hat company will come to you, and they will say, I'll give you $500 for one post, and all you have to do is wear this hat.
Yep.
Well, sorry, I can't do that. I'm under contract with this company that gives me a 15% discount, and they give me 2 free hats. And that's happened to me.
Yeah.
Literally not with hats, but that's happened with me
for other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've had to turn down money, real cash money, on one-offs because, I was sponsored, and it's frustrating.
It's so crazy how, like, right now I'm in the process. I hate using the word sponsors, but I use the word sponsor in the right way. So I am like the background that you're seeing on all the StreamYard shit right here. I'm creating a fishy game show, like it's kind of in my niche, like wheelhouse. Quite a bit, and I think this will be pretty cool. I'm actually recording tomorrow morning with my first 2 contestants just to kind of test things out. It should be pretty fun. Now, what this is designed to do is, like, right now in my business, I'm working 6 days a week, at least 1 show a day. Some days I'm working 2 shows a day. It's ludicrous. It's crazy. It's, I have, my day off is Saturdays. I'm in the events business. If I book a corporate event or a wedding, or if I book something else, now I'm working for 2 straight weeks, all the way through. And I'm trying to do things like get out and travel, especially like in the winter and stuff, and a lot of people think that my schedule loosens up in the winter. One of my biggest pulls for trivia is my residency work in bars and restaurants, and then fundraisers and corporate events. Huge this time of year. Until we get to like April, it doesn't really slow down. So it'll be pretty busy. And I'm like, I have no problem saying no to the time, but I'll give you a perfect example. Like, one of the trips that I have going on is we're going to St. Clair, right? Going to St. Clair with one of our jig heads. It's going to be awesome, with Todd Sefton. And initially I was looking at the calendar, and I'm like, I'm really going to need 2 days to travel there. Because it's not like I can, fly and put the boat on there. I got to tow it. You know what I mean? I got to drive. And I'm more than likely going to drive about halfway or a little bit more, sleep, and then drive a short way to get there. because again, I'm not looking to wreck my boat or anything like that or kill myself, falling asleep at the wheel on the highway. So my plan is to go, and I was like, Todd, I'm going to have to look for a bar or some kind of a fraternal organization to have a live event. Try and get some Jigs and Bigs listeners in a room for a little bit of a hang. We'll play a game show. We'll give away some prizes, maybe network with a tackle shop. All that stuff sounds awesome. The problem is nobody knows how any of this shit works except for me when it comes to doing those events. So I might talk to, Jim Bob's Tackle Shop in Michigan and say, hey, this is what we're interested in. And he's going to be like, what's a podcast? You know what I mean? Like, no idea what it is that I'm doing. So now I've got to put all of this extra effort into it. And it's insane. And it just dawned on me. I was like, I could do this online. The podcast is online. Why shouldn't I do this online? So in part of like with YouTube and stuff, I'm doing this two ways. One way is where like I've got a couple of contestants. We'll do a show. I'll put the edited product on YouTube, and then I'll do a like some public shows where I can have hundreds of people playing fishy trivia. From the comfort of their own homes, wherever they are. They don't have to come to an event. We get some prizes, give some stuff away. It'd be a whole lot of fun. And, the idea was definitely there. And I have to find sponsors in order to make money. So, like, let me see. I'll try and throw it on the window for you so you can see it. It doesn't really show up. I have, like, some screens where there's this, something fishy trivia is brought to you by, and it's a bunch of different logos. And I've reached out to probably about 70 or 80 different brands. Endemic and non-endemic brands. Like, obviously it makes sense to have fishing lure companies on there or fishing accessory companies on there and retailers and things like that. But also, like, everybody shits. So like a Dude Wipes sponsorship makes sense. You know what I mean? Everybody sleeps. So, like, maybe something that's more, like, sleep-oriented, like a new pillow or something like that. Or you know what I'm saying? There's certain things that everybody does. So it just makes sense to kind of bring these in. And I've noticed there's a lot of people that have no idea. I tried to keep my rates so low so I could get more sponsors. So it's affordable for, like, that small operation in their garage churning out jigs. Or churning out plastics. If they want to get on this, and because the idea is, because that's the other thing too. I think a lot of people need to remember this about their content. Unlike like a billboard, like if you have a billboard on the side of the road, right? You don't have any idea, Brandon, how much a billboard costs to do, like per month?
Thousands of dollars, probably.
Yeah, in my area, which is a small market, it's $3,000 a month next to a major highway. So I mean, it's a lot of money, And but when that billboard gets changed out for another billboard, it's no longer working for you. You know what I mean? If somebody were to sponsor a segment or run an ad, because I also sell ads for the podcast. If someone were to buy an ad for the podcast, that podcast isn't going anywhere. And there are segments or show episodes that still get played from years ago because people will discover it and go back. And the same thing is there for YouTube. You have this collection of stuff, especially with like playlists. So if somebody sponsors content that's on this, even though it might be it's not truly evergreen in the sense that it's timeless, there's still going to be views that are going on and on and on. So when you sponsor something like an advertisement on the podcast and it costs you X amount of dollars, if you did only one show, but that show happened to be getting thousands of listens over time, that ad would still be working for you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's a lot of content creators don't think about it like that. Like, you're building a library. You're building an armada of different pieces of media that can be consumed, whether it's a 60-second YouTube short or a TikTok, or it's like a full 3-hour-long documentary film that you put on YouTube. Like, there's stuff that's there.
And you can pay people to do your edits too, where if you just suck at it so bad or you hate it so much.
You can, yeah.
You pay people too, yeah.
there are a lot of people who are just like, yeah, you should start editing other people's shit. That's one way. If you want to get good, I've always been a fan of this mentality where, like, if you want to get good at doing something, put yourself in it to where you just have to keep on doing it. And then you're eventually going to figure it out. Or drive yourself crazy and quit and walk away from it. But one way or the other, you're going to end up where you need to be. Mm-hmm. So I try to tell everybody when I'm at a trade show and I'm selling, trivia software to a business that is only in the wedding industry. And I'm like, hey, how important are your MC skills for all of your employees at your business? And they're like, pretty fucking important. You know what I mean? Like, I can play other people's music all day, but what makes my service is my ability on the microphone, my ability to manage an event, my ability to think on my feet, shit like that. And I go, and that's why you need to be in a restaurant every single week hosting trivia for X amount of people, so that when your clients come in and say, we're a little torn, we'd really like to go to one of your events and see what's going on, you can send them here because it's boot camp for your mic skills. Something like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hear that a lot of times. People will say like, oh, I hate editing. They're like, oh, well, maybe you should start editing for other people. Then you're not emotionally connected to it. You're just like cutting shit together.
Yeah. And to your point, I have a library of hundreds of hours of fishing that hasn't been published.
Oh my God.
So
yeah,
I just need to edit, and I have probably enough content for, half a year.
You know what? Send me one of your videos. I'll fucking hammer one out for you just to see what it looks like through the eye of Bobby Roast Beef.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Yeah. I mean, it's tougher. I will say, I think it's a little bit easier when, like, I was on the event and I know about where things had happened and I don't have to go through. I think, like, some of the real big content creators, like my kids, my girls, they fucking love Brittany Broski. Fucking love Brittany Broski.
I don't even know who that is.
You've never... Okay, so have you ever seen a meme where there's this girl, she's blonde, right? And she's making a face like, gross, like that. And it'll say one thing. Maybe it says like, I don't know. It's like a dirty joke or something like that. And then it's where like one of those jokes where the comma should be in there and it changes things. And then like there's another one where she's like, oh, well, like that. Let me look one up. I'm gonna see. She got super famous for this one meme specifically, but she's got a podcast and this YouTube channel, and she is just there we go. Let me see. Meme. There we go. It's this meme.
Oh yeah,
you've seen that. All right. So, that all came from a video she did on like Snapchat about what was it? I think it was trying kombucha for the first time. Is what that was. And she's funny. Like, I've seen her stuff. I've watched, like, my kids aren't interested in the shit I do. So I try to take a little bit of interest in the shit that they're into, and like, I'll watch some of these videos. I was like, holy shit. And like, she'll mention that there's this editor that she works with named Stanley. And I guess her process is she goes and chops up just the raw clips. And then he goes and makes it like a whole piece that makes sense. That's that's strung together in the right sort of order and in an artistic kind of way, where it's enjoyable and watchable. And I think that's the way to do it. Because if you can get the content like that, just slap it together. You know what I mean? Get a little creative, have fun.
Or do a voiceover. If you're not comfortable talking to the camera, do a voiceover.
Oh my God, yes, do a voiceover all day.
People do that all the time. I mean, they do it on like knife making videos. You can do it on fishing.
100%. I mean, there is almost any type of content for somebody who's willing to look for it. Like somebody's out there making it. The fact that people make ASMR videos, I'm just like, what? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's a guy, Kayak Catfish. He does 4 hours of unedited fishing, and he just talks the whole time.
I can't. I've seen his videos. Like I'll be, I might get home from work or something, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have dinner, and then I'll put something on. We'll watch a YouTube video or two, and I'll be in my recliner, and I will wake up to one of his videos, and he's just happy as he can possibly be in his kayak, talking about all kinds of shit. Like, and he talks about it all.
He doesn't talk about fishing all the time. He talks about. He goes into like transgender stuff. I mean, he goes into all kinds of crazy stuff.
There was one where he was talking about like his neighbor's like recipe for fried green tomatoes or some shit like that. And I was just like, I can relate to this dude. I was like, this is a painful watch. Like, this isn't something I would necessarily like dive into regularly. But although that said, like he was highly recommended from John Hagen's when I was asking about catfishing tips. And he's
he's good.
He's real good. But man, he does. Yeah, there's like 3 hours long and he's just talking. And I mean, it can be that easy, And
it works.
Yeah. There is a movement right now in YouTube where a lot of people are saying, if you're over 40, just put out videos, whatever they are. Just put yourself on camera or drive around and talk, shit like that. And they're like, trust me. And I can't understand why. I don't know if there's like a nation of Gen Xers that are just like,
I need to get connected to my generation.
I don't understand, but like, I'm like, we're fucking old.
We are old. I broke my foot jumping rope. That's how old I am.
Dude, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so good about myself because I've got some years on you.
Yeah.
And I don't take care of myself at all. I'm the worst. I need to change that.
How old do you think I am?
I would say I'm at least 10 years old. I would say you're 37 at the most.
43.
You're fucking 43? You're older than Joe? Oh my God.
1981.
No shit, dude.
That's the face. It's a baby face.
It really is, man. Wow. I am only 4 years older than you. That is crazy town.
I can't grow a good beard like that either. So we've got some differences we got to work through, but we'll be all right.
Everybody brings something to the table at the end of the day. That's what matters.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy when Joe turned 40. I was like, holy shit. I said, get ready, man. I'm like, if shit starts hurting. No kidding, man. I figured you weren't even 40 yet. Damn.
Yeah, that's clean living for you, buddy.
Good for you. Yeah. Good for you. Many a night sleeping drunkenly in a parking lot. That's what happened. This is what you get out of it.
I think I've done that a few times myself.
Yeah. I just made it a lifestyle early in my fucking 20s. Oh.
Yeah, I think to your point about Brittany Broski and, the third party editing. Yeah. Again, like you said, you just have to do it. The people that have success, no matter how good or bad their content is the people that post on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And they just don't stop. It doesn't matter if they have 1 view or 3 bazillion views.
Yeah, 100% right. Like, it's just, you just got to keep grinding and then something's going to catch,
Yeah, you look at Greg Blanchard. How long has he been posting fishing videos?
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I want to say 10 years every week for 10 years.
That's nuts. Every week.
So if you post every week for 10 years, you can be as successful as Greg at YouTube.
And it's funny because like you see this slowly, like you see worlds that kind of collide, like the content creator and the tournament angler. And, some people pull that off better than others. Some people pull it off better than others. Like some people, they do it and it's cringy. Some people do it and it's great. Some people do it and they've capitalized on it and have made amazing careers doing it. Other people are just like scrounging to just make a buck. But the reality of it is like we have this opportunity with the technology in a way, remove the gatekeeper that is mass media, you know, and put things in our hands. I mean, there is still a gatekeeper, the algorithms themselves and all that kind of stuff, but we're closer. You know what I mean? Like, we also don't have the FCC telling us what we can and can't do. Although, I mean, that's not, I can't say too much there. Like, I'm pretty sure if I ever hit monetization, I have a couple of videos. My trout video recently, there's a lot of blood in that one, man. You know, and they don't like that. They don't like that. Not at all. There is a part in this video where Eric is like, I'm recording and he's like, all right, cool. He takes a big old 1.5-inch wrench and he's just like, bam. Right on the live one. And I'm like, there goes the monetization on that. Luckily, the bucket that they were in was just blocking it. And I was like, all right, there you go.
Yeah. We took the meat club to the lake trout we caught on a guided trip. And I was like, I would love to put that on the internet, but I just can't.
Oh, no way, man. How big was that laker?
I think we caught a couple 30s. I'm pretty sure they were pretty big.
Dude, that's
awesome. I think people catch 36s, but
yeah,
a couple 30s pretty good.
Biggest I've ever caught for a laker was 17 or 18. Random.
Yeah, we paid these dudes to take us out on I want to say it was Lake Michigan. Mm-hmm. We were at a work thing in Michigan, and we had a day off, so we booked a guided trip and went out and did that. And it was less fun than I wanted it to be, just because it kind of felt like, they were my dad, and then they caught the fish and then told me to reel it in. You know what I'm saying? Because it was trolling.
Yeah. That's the thing about trolling. It's like, that's not for guys our age. That's for our dads. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I bought the boat, everybody asked me, they're like, oh, you going to set it up for trolling? Because I bought a Lund. And like, you set it up for trolling? I was like, fuck you. I'm not setting this up for trolling. I was like, I'm not setting this up for trolling till I sell my business and fucking retire somewhere.
Yeah. It's for crappie fishermen and old folks. Yes. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah. Not my thing, but I mean, I like the ability to make the decision to go ahead and do that. You know, I got a question for you. You're a content guy. What's your hot take on bass fishing sucks?
I don't, well, it does. It sucks. You mean, does it suck in the winter, or does it suck?
No, the account, bass fishing sucks.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Oh my God. It's a meme account. And I'm
Googling it, or I'm Instagramming it now.
It's a button pusher. A lot of stuff about Johnny Morris, a lot of stuff about not needing technique-specific rods or, anything else and all this. And I feel there's a part of me that thinks that I know who the person is just by the comedy and everything. They do this one stretch of reels about Bastrodamus, which is a Billy the Bass, toy. But with all these psychedelic effects and shit like that. And the number of people and the people that are following are just insane.
I'm looking at it, and it's it's brutal.
It's brutal.
I'll be honest, just my general take on bass fishing is that it's over romanticized in a way, I think.
I agree. It's funny. I mentioned
you're trying to catch a fish that's 2 feet, right? They're throwing sturgeon on here that are 10 feet.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
I had this conversation. This was with Armando from Bass Kayak and Beers, and we were talking, and he was just like, "Yeah, bass." And he said it this way, and I didn't catch him and ask for clarification on it. But he was like, we're so crazy about this fish that's so difficult to catch, and I'm like, in my mind, after I'm like, they're not. They are the fish I tell people to target first because of the abundance. Because of the fact that they're savages and they'll eat literally anything, and that they're easiest to handle, aside from getting spined on occasion. But if you're just get over the fact that you just lip them and you're good to go. You catch like a catfish and you can get that spine in the you catch a catfish. Who was it that just it was Andrew Hayes from Tackle Talk. Caught a big catfish and got that spine like right through his hand. Like it was bad. You catch pike, you catch muskie, bowfin, snakehead. Like those are fish that are, and they fight way harder than your typical largemouth. Like a largemouth is a fun fish, but I'll tell you what, that 5-pounder largemouth, well, it was a different gear. I can't really compare apples to oranges, but I caught that 5-pound largemouth on Saturday. The week prior, I broke my smallmouth PB with a 19-inch, and that fish probably went 375, 4 pounds. But I caught it on BFS gear, and that fight was ridiculous. 2-pound test leader line. Stupid. Just like unbelievable. And I mean, it was awesome, but like just the fight between largemouth and smallmouth is totally different. Yeah.
I have this argument with this guy I go to Canada every year with because he loves fishing for walleye. And I don't hate fishing for walleye, but I'm not a finesse person.
Yeah.
I like to crank and reel, Yeah. And so these walleye, they you have the little jigs with the jig heads that you bounce off the bottom, and you're catching. And I was like, that's just so damn boring to me. But on the flip side of that, to your point on bass being easy to catch, he dropped a rod in the water, and so he put a treble hook with a bullet weight on it to try to catch it off the bottom.
Oh yeah,
and he caught 3 smallmouth in a row on a bare treble hook with a lead weight on it.
That's hilarious, man.
And then his argument is always that bass are stupid. So it's hard to argue that when they're eating a treble hook with nothing on it.
Who was it? I think it was Dave Mercer was on Tackle Talk, and I didn't realize this about Dave Mercer. The sheer number of hours of underwater footage he's collected of bass fishing, and he was talking about this one situation where he was like, you would not believe the amount of times that you feel like you have a bite on a drop shot and you go to set the hook and there's nothing there, and that bass was eating the weight at the bottom. You 100% should be doing a high-low and have a Ned rig down there if you're going to run that drop shot, just because you'll at least have a hook down there.
That's funny.
And they are.
That's actually a good plan.
It really is.
Yeah, I like it.
You got to check the legalities. It's not legal in every state. Massachusetts is one where we can get away with it. But yeah, for a while we were calling it Rig X, and I think they call it a double shot, or what's the other name for it? A high-low rig is what they call it in the saltwater world. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's effective, But yeah, you're like, oh yeah, something was biting. I set the hook. There's nothing there, and it's like, yeah, it was that little cylindrical weight just came out like bloop. Bye.
That's so funny. That's
awesome.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, I think this is pretty good, man. I mean, I don't are we going to fix Instagram overnight? No, but I think we realize, both of us, that we have to go and try the other pools,
Yeah, I think Instagram, sponsorships, all the things that are quote unquote wrong with the fishing industry, I think are just going to take a bunch of people like me and others to be disinterested enough to stay off of it.
Yeah.
And then enough people do that and they might change.
Yeah.
But until then, we're just going to kind of be out there on an island, I think. But again, I'm okay starting over, It's easy to start over when you have 4 years of knowledge about how to create content than when you just started, So
that's true.
I think I'm probably to the point where I'm ready to go with YouTube. I'm going to talk to Ramon Outdoors next week about kind of putting together a plan and a strategy. So
there you go. Ramon's a smart guy when it comes to content, smart guy when it comes to fishing. He's a good dude. I got the opportunity to meet him this last March, and him and Matt from Veterans Fishing, actually, when I was out fishing with the Jabberhammer. We had a blast. But Ramon's a smart guy. And I think that's the thing. You nailed it. I think that Eventually, Instagram is going to turn a page. You know, and in the issue for me is it's force of habit. I'm on Instagram all the time. I have so many group chats. I'm talking with people nonstop. I go through shit. I've got group chats that are nothing but reels. Just like I would be canceled so fast if this ever got public. Unbelievable. The worst, darkest humor. Like I am the worst person. And, you know, I mean, so I'm on the app regularly, but I am trying to definitely be more cognizant of, and I'm like, on TikTok, I'm like less than 70 follows away from being able to monetize. It's 1,000, right? I think it's 1,000.
Well, I think it's 10,000 because I'm not monetized and I have 9,165.
Oh, really? Fuck. Okay. I thought it was something about, I don't know. Somebody told me something about 1,000. It
might have some combination of how many followers you have and how much watch time or some other thing.
I'll have to look at that because that's what I was thinking. I was like, I really don't love the idea of doing it, but I'll do some Instagram live stuff. But you know, to maybe talk about the upcoming show is what I was thinking. Use that as an opportunity. But we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, there's usually a place where it tells you.
I gotta fool around with that though, and see, figure it out, get it dialed. I mean, shit, I might just go back and hide at Facebook and just, you know, I mean, ridiculous following over there.
Yeah, Facebook. I got a lot of messages that Facebook is pays people the best, and I haven't been able to latch on at Facebook. I said, by putting my eggs in all one basket is like I learned everything there was to learn about Instagram.
Yeah.
And the other ones I haven't given the proper education commitment.
And so much has changed since like 2020. You know, I mean, I feel like Facebook's pretty much still the same as, you know, for the most part. Like it's only so much going on over there, but TikTok has changed completely. You know, it's grown so much. And unreal. I think it's TikTok Shop. I think you can work with TikTok Shop at 1,000 followers.
Yeah, now I have that ability.
Yeah, that might be it. And I don't know.
They're kind of like they're on you. They're like, hey, we sent you this thing. When are you putting your content out? Put it out like right away. Like they're kind of ruthless on that thing.
Oh yeah, no, I believe it for sure.
Yeah, so.
It's weird too. There was an app for a little while. I forget the name of it. I wonder if I still have it on here. But there was an app for a while that was like, it was all about connecting creators with companies that wanted to put out products. And I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was terrible. Like it was ridiculous. It was like, okay, yeah, so you want to do this? Okay, first use this link and go to Amazon and buy this product. Okay, and then create. And I'm like, and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to get reimbursed such and such. And then you'll make a commission on this affiliate link. And have you done any affiliate link stuff yet?
Yeah. Like at that battery company I worked with, they did. A lot of times they'll make you do it. Like even if they pay you, they'll make you do it. And then you'll get commissions off of those affiliate links. My issue is that a lot of people don't use affiliate links.
Yeah, they just don't.
I think YouTube is like your best bet for affiliate links because you just put everything you use in the description. Like you said,
it's clickable right there. Yeah.
Lives forever.
Yep.
And you make money that way, which I think that's another frustrating part of mine is that there are people that are making a ton of money on affiliate links, and I have yet to figure out how to tap into that like on a large scale basis.
We have some affiliate links with some of our partners, and I've put those links everywhere where we can. They're on every single podcast that drops in the description, and I've posted them on our link tree. I have mentioned them at length, like for all kinds of stuff. And even in like stories, you know, and we just don't see like, I think a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, cool. I like reaction tackle. Let's go to Amazon and search for this. And it's available, of course. And it's just because it's easier. And they're like, okay. Although I will say this, I recently had a situation where, and this wasn't even an affiliate link type situation, but I had reached out and contacted a handful of companies that made boat steps for boat trailers, right? And I had said to all of these companies, I'm like, look, I'm just interested in working with somebody, and all I'm looking for is some type of an affiliate link or something so that I can prove performance. That's ultimately what I'm looking to do. That's why I like that, because I want to know if like this is working for you, or if it's not, that's fine. But like, let's know for sure. Omega Boat Steps stepped up, and they were the first ones right away that were like, yeah, let's do it. We'll send you a set. What's your boat? I need you to take this measurement. They sent me out their set. They call it the Quadzilla. It's freaking awesome. My fat ass can run up and down these stairs all day. Unbelievable. And it's so nice too, like, because this is the time of year where the docks are starting to disappear, and when I'm launching the boat, like when I'm with my dad, he's got bad joints and stuff. Now he can just get in the boat easily and then launch the boat and then pull up and pick me up. We're good to go. So we go and we set all this stuff up, and within days of me releasing the video and mentioning them, one of our longtime listeners goes and was like, oh, I was looking at a set of those boat steps. Yeah, I'm going to buy them. And he reached out to the guy that I was in touch with and was like, oh, yeah. He's like, Jigs and Biggs sent me. This is great. So that was kind of nice, like proof of performance right there. But yeah, they never set us up with an affiliate link or anything like that. They're like, nope, just put something out. Give us a mention. We'd love it. That'd be awesome. I'm like, okay, done deal.
I will literally have people reach out to me and tell me they bought whatever it was that I was using.
Uh-huh.
And I'll ask them, like, did you use the link tree or the link or any? No, I went on. I had one guy who was like, no, I like buying directly from Berkeley. I had another person say, no, I buy from Tackle Warehouse only. And it's like, so you're selling products and lures and
everywhere
all these other things.
Yeah.
And they're just refusing to go and use your stuff. And I was like, and truthfully, I think that my best performing affiliate links are links that I don't make commission off of, which is even more frustrating.
I know, right?
So dumb.
We have an affiliate link with Omnia. They're one of our partners. Omnia is great. I love Omnia. We have listeners that will reach out and say like, oh yeah, you were talking about this. You gave a link and they're sold out. And they're like, so I had to go and get it at like Amazon or Tackle Warehouse, or I bought it at Dick's or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, I get it. They're sold out. There's nothing you can do. But it's like, I mean, I know it's crazy when you're reaching people, like, it, because in the situation with Jigs and Biggs, like, we'll have a conversation about something, and that is person X might approach me and say, hey, I heard these men talk about this on the show. Those are awesome. I use those too. I'm going to go and do, and you're like, okay, so I'm reaching people. They know, but you're right. Like, they're just like, oh yeah, I go direct. And then like, I remember when the first time somebody had approached me about using an affiliate link versus a promo code, and they're like, well, yeah, people don't use promo codes. And I say bullshit. People they want promo codes, man.
They do. Yeah. They always reach out to me and say, hey, do you have a code for whatever, all the time?
And you're like, and it sucks to be able to say like, I don't, but you can use this affiliate link.
Right.
Yeah.
Go through the extra steps of going on this affiliate link, and don't just have the website you've already got pulled up, to buy it.
For sure. It's crazy. All right, man. I think I'm going to have to finish editing this show. This is so weird. I'm mid-editing the show that we're talking on. This is bizarre. But I got to go and fix this and get it uploaded, because it technically should go out in 10 minutes.
Hey, man. No skin off my back.
No, it's good stuff. Brandon, always a good time talking to you, man, my friend. Always, dude.
I very much enjoy spending time on your podcast, Bobby. You do it better than anybody else. Don't ever let anybody tell you don't, man.
You're the man, dude. I appreciate that. You want to give a shout out to anybody that you are working with that's been good to you?
I love Steve Martin's Custom Baits.
Yes, baby.
He's the best.
Steve gets it.
I have a new relationship ish with Evolve Rod Sleeves and Pride Rods.
Yep.
They've always been really good to me, and I have no issues with those guys. Waterland has been. It'll be 2 years in February.
That's
with them.
awesome.
I've never had any issues with those guys either. I really haven't had a whole lot of issues with anybody, truthfully. And
That's good.
so, yeah, those are the kind of the companies that are kind of staples. I was with Eco for a long time, but
Yep.
I decided to move on from that relationship. No hard feelings, nothing else. It's
It
just,
happens,
I do so much.
Yeah.
But no, but Steve just came out with this Nomad XT finesse jig just in time for winter.
I'm throwing it now.
And
It's in the November Dark Horse tackle box.
It is shit hot. Like
Yeah.
the hook is like a special kind of hook. It sits up hook high, and it's got that kind of tight, compact little skirt that you like in a finesse jig, but it's almost like a flipping jig with a finesse jig skirt, and it is sick.
I got the 5/16 ounce.
Yeah,
And,
so that's. Go ahead.
It's a perfect weight. It's just a click over a quarter. It's a nice fall rate. And I'm throwing it with these, what is it? Oh, God damn it. I forget the name. They make the Koosh jig. I'll look it up and I'll get the name, but I'm throwing it with this super tiny. It's almost like a mini chunk because it doesn't have any flanges on the legs that catch water and make it kick. But it's such a nice compact jig, but it's heavy enough to be able to do some stuff with, as opposed to like some of the really, really small jigs. Like I've thrown some really small jigs lately.
Yeah, and
HH Customs, that's what it is. It's HH Customs.
If you don't think that size matters, especially in cold water, it does.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Although it's weird too, man. This was the year where I put to the test. I stumbled on Magnum's beef craw, that big old 5-inch craw.
Yeah.
And I was like, my thought was, I had noticed last year I'd switched out all of my swim jig trailers from like 4-inch either craw or paddle tail styles to 5-inch or longer paddle tails. And I noticed that I was catching more larger fish. Like I was still catching like the regular fish that I would size wise, but I caught like probably 4 of them that were like 19 inches plus. And I'm like, okay, all right, this is good. And then I was like, I wonder if the same principle would work on a craw for like a flipping jig, like flipping in a super heavy cover or something like that. And then I caught a 22 like the first day out with it, which was beautiful. And this one was big enough to put me in the 7-pound club. It was nice.
Nice, man.
Yeah, good fish. Nice. Real good fish.
I forgot a couple people here. Catch. So if you like Catch products, I got a code there on my link tree, Gorilla Grip, and then Fish Vault. Fish Vault's a sub box, kind of like Dark Horse, but it's not.
Yep.
It's not specifically tackle. It's more like I got an OtterBox cooler in it last time. They'll put
really?
like electric fillet knives in there. You'll get like a Garmin casting sonar in this box. Like they have like kind of high end products in there, and so that's
always cool.
One of my favorite companies, and they're veteran owned. So a lot of the companies I work with are veteran owned. Pride. Steve is a vet, you know.
Yep.
So just I try to focus on American veteran type companies
for sure. Yeah.
My preference, you know, and that's another thing as far as content goes, and you know, working with companies is that I don't necessarily have a problem working with Chinese companies. You know, that's not really my issue. But if a company doesn't align with your values, you know, just you know, even if they're going to pay you, you know, I just turned down a company 2 days ago that was going to pay, but they just didn't align with my values, so I declined.
And I mean, not only for like like some people think about like, oh, well, how does this look if I work with this kind of company? But like you think about it, how good of a relationship is that going to be if you're constantly have that on the back of your mind? You know, like this company doesn't match up ideally when you know that there are companies that do fit you, match your values.
Well, I mean, I did content with Temu and I did content with IZA and those are Chinese companies. They're and I took a lot of crap from people in the comments on, whether or not I'm a true American or whether you got these couch people that like to talk shit, but
it's always the way it is, man.
A lot of these guys are also not in a position to where they could even do that if they wanted. And then they just want to talk shit because they're miserable people. Mm-hmm. So you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Unbelievable, dude. We had a partnership with a Chinese company, and there were for sure challenges. We struck a deal early on, and not being like remotely in the same time zone alone, like even just that level was a challenge.
Well, Chinese negotiate different than Americans, and they want revision after revision after revision. It's like I said, hey, you got 2 revisions in the contract here. If you want any more revisions, you're going to have to do them yourself.
Yeah.
And they literally took the video and did their own revisions. I was like, whatever.
It's nuts. It's nuts. We were going back and forth to the point where I had told them, I was like, we're out. We're not interested. If you guys don't, this is what we're laying out for you guys. This is what we need in order for this to make sense. And, whatever. And then when I said that we were out, they were like, no. It's all right. Okay. Well, they were all completely agreeable. It was a sunglasses company. Yeah.
It's cultural. It really is. It's like, it's bizarre, but that's one of the things you kind of have to realize when you do this stuff is that it's very cultural.
Yep.
If you're going outside the U.S.
It is. The world is a big place.
I'm sorry. I got on a tangent after a shout out, so my bad.
It's all good, man. This is awesome, Brandon. Thank you so much, dude. This show, I'm going to flip this right over. Like we'll have this sucker out there in minutes. So you'll be able to
today?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna pop your segment in. I'm gonna trim a little bit, and then I'm gonna upload and do all that stuff before I go to bed.
All right. Well, that's good news because I got people wanting to listen to it.
I love it, dude. Sounds good, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Hey,
appreciate you, homie. Oh, great talking to you too, man. Anytime. We'll have you on the guest host too in the future.
Oh, that would be so dope. I'll have a better set of microphones and shit next time.
No worries, man. Have a good one. All right, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. All righty, guys. Man, we got one hell of a show this week. Thank you guys for checking it out and being part of it all. Assuming, again, I didn't record that segment with Dustoff in advance. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope I enjoyed it. We'll find out when I actually record it on Monday morning or Monday evening, actually, because I got Monday off and I have Thursday off this week, and I have Saturday off this week. Ooh. Correct? Yes. It is so nice.
Yeah.
It is so nice. Obviously, with Thanksgiving being right on the horizon on Thursday, I'm not working trivia that night, but I may be doubling up on Sunday with that brunch trivia again. But I'm going to make that a regular thing and go out whenever I've got those 2 trivia events. I'm going to carve out that time so that I can bank fish in between, because I feel like coming home for 4 hours just to get comfy in my recliner, just to get up and go back to work again is stupid. You know what I mean? I just think it's so stupid. A little bit earlier in between segments here, we were talking with Tim Behan about, and we had mentioned this about, him suggesting the use of a GoPro, in tournaments, so that this way the cast to catch is all on camera and you can prove how you caught that fish and everything, which is crazy that that would be even a suggestion. But with cheaters, like we talked about in segment number 1, It is what it is. And that kind of in between segments got us on this conversation about batteries and such. And then, Tim had mentioned that he uses a separate battery. And then he's dropped his battery in the water twice before a tournament, and the battery would not work until it was totally dried out. That has happened to me as well. Although with my situation, it was condensation. I had it in a pocket where there was a little bit of water in there, and the condensation from the sun, as I got into the shade, cooled down, and then the battery got soaked, and it sucked. But we were talking about mounts, and Tim says that he uses a hat mount and it sucks. Dude, I've been there. I used a hat mount for a long time when I was in the kayak, and it sucks because it's so heavy that it'll push your hat down, and if your hat, like even with the flat bill, pushes on your glasses, it's right on the bridge of your nose. It's the worst. I have found a product that I love for using my GoPro on that first-person view, and it's going to be next week's Gear of the Week. I just thought of this while we were doing the Gear of the Week segment, Joe, earlier, and I'm like, we're going to talk about it. It's cheap, it's super, super effective, and it's so far, I think this is like you buy once, you're one and done. You're good to go. You're right. You're 100% right, Tim. It sucks, but it is good video. It's great. I like the hat cam because if you turn your head, if something gets your attention, you've got it on camera. That is the nice thing. What I'm going to talk about in next week's show for the Gear of the Week, if you're getting into making some kind of content, you're going to love this thing. You're absolutely going to love this thing. And I've used it in a bunch of different ways. So, we'll talk about that next week. But I think this is a pretty freaking great show. I feel pretty satiated with my fishy activity. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get most of my fishy activity actually done in the next 2 days, so that's cool. But, I'm a happy guy. We're just living our best life. You got anything on the horizon, Joe? Anything you're looking forward to?
No, that's it. I hope everyone has a fantastic Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Do wish that.
That is awesome. You guys enjoy, eat, drink, be merry, be safe. If you're drinking, don't drive. Mm-hmm. And if you're stuffed full of turkey and trimmings, get a good nap in before you leave, because there's nothing worse than that, fat guy nap after, while you're on a long drive home or something. That's one thing I'm really lucky about. I don't really have to travel much for Thanksgiving. I never have.
Yeah, same.
That is when people are like, oh, I'm going back home to, such and such. And I'm just like, what a hellacious time to be on the road or flying or anything like that. Yeah. That's nuts. My heart goes out to you guys, but enjoy, eat some good food, enjoy the time you can spend with your families, and then go out and stimulate the economy a little bit on Friday. Make shit happen. Buy stuff. And then again on Monday online. Yep. Cyber fucking Monday. Go to darkhorse.com and just buy. Do yourself a favor. You've earned it. Go ahead and just restock everything you have in there at Dark Horse. Trust me. All their baits are fantastic. Yes. Every company that they work with is absolutely amazing, and we love them. So go ahead and make that shit happen. We will see you guys in 7 days. If you could be so kind to leave us a review or a rating on your podcast platform of choice. Remember, Apple Podcasts does seem to help us out the most. So if you could, go ahead and give us a rating and a review over there. That'd be huge. But you can rate us on Spotify as well, which is our number 2 most popular platform for Jigs and Bigs. We've also got merch available at jigsandbigs.com. You can go to our store. You can buy a bunch of different stuff. It's getting cool right now. The beanies, the fleece vest, the hoodies, all that stuff available for you this week. I did fool around with making some different logos, alternate logos to support some various species. You guys are going to want to watch out. I'm not necessarily sold on any of them yet. I have one more sort of push. I'm considering bringing in an artist. I just have to find an artist to kind of have these match the vibe of the original Jigs and Bigs logo. I did a poll, and a lot of people were like, it was split 50-50, loved it, and hated it. Like I did one with a brook trout, and I did one with a yellow perch. The artwork, the styling wasn't right on, and I would like to be able to find some of the stuff that's right on. Right. But, so be on the lookout for that stuff. Jigs and Bigs merch, stickers, drinkware, the Bluetooth speaker, it all makes great gifts too. So if you've got an angler in your life and you want to show a little support to the show, that's a great way to do it. Of course, you can follow American Vet Fishing and Jigs and Bigs both on YouTube and check out some high quality video content from the two of us. The Jigs and Bigs channel is a little bit more of like a behind the scenes of stuff that happens at Jigs and Bigs, lots of fishing outings and things like that. During this winter, get ready because there's going to be lots of talk about gear, prep, and philosophy. Yeah, that's right. Bobby Roast Beef's officially a philosopher. Get ready. And then, of course, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that other stuff. American Vet Fishing, Jigs and Bigs. We'll see you guys in 7 days with more fantastic fishy content just for you. Remember to tag us in any of your picks. If you're still out there getting them, tag us. We want to know about it. If we're not catching up here, the next best thing is to live vicariously through your experiences. So make sure to tag us in all your social media posts. We'd love to give you guys some support, some likes, comments, and shares, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys in 7 days of more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Like we always say,
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.